What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining us right here on Tuesday night. It is Tuesday Night Titans, episode 95 for your Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. I am your host, JD from New York. As always, joined by the one and only, and if provoked, he will definitely beat yo the Solid Monster. What's going on, brother?
Beat your ass, huh? That's what it is. I sounded so ridiculous saying that, but people got a kick out of me talking slang apparently on the show. They were like, "Can you repeat that and say that again?"
Bro, I got to be honest with you, man. I was on my way to Target and I was laughing so hard with you reading that because I had the YouTube video on. I replayed it like 3 different times, but I laughed every time I replayed it.
I'll beat your ass, huh? I'm not even sure what I just said, but that's what Ricochet said to Javon Evans.
Oh my God, man! Social media, man. What would we do without it, man? Live a healthier life. I'll tell you that right now.
I feel dumber for social media just existing.
It's ridiculous. I don't know, man. WWE PC and AEW attendance numbers being thrown around in arguments. It's crazy, man. I don't know what's going on nowadays, but we got an action-packed show here tonight for episode 95. Thank you guys very much for joining us here. We have almost 1,000 people already in here. Thank you guys very much for that. Tonight, we have Sabu. We will definitely talk about Sabu and the unexpected passing of one of the most legendary hardcore wrestlers, probably the most legendary hardcore wrestler of all time, in my opinion, especially for our generation. Sabu, we'll definitely get into that and the controversy surrounding what happened on social media this past weekend with GCW and Joey Janela. We'll definitely get into that. Triple H, apparently, the rumor is he may be loading up All-In Weekend. And I don't know, man. And one of the more petty things that I've seen WWE potentially go out there and do. Nothing's official yet. But we may have a triple threat of shows from WWE and AEW on the same day. So we will definitely talk about that. We got news on the WWE Draft. We got Backlash discussion, John Cena, Gunther, Bill Goldberg, AEW free agency news. We got a lot to get into tonight, so thank you guys very much for joining us. Make sure you guys follow us on social media and all the YouTube stuff linked down below. Please make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes is the goal. We hit it every single stream, so tonight should be no different. Thank you guys for some great numbers last week. We did over 41,000 views on TNT episode 94. And super chats are open. Get them on in is the best way to support what Jason and I do here on Tuesday nights. So we'll hang out with our cold beverages as always and go through your questions, comments, and concerns at the end of the show. All right, brother, I'm leaving it in your hands. Where you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we should probably talk about what you mentioned at the top, which was the very surprising news about Sabu. And WWE paid tribute to him on Raw last night. They had a more like a slideshow than a video and a graphic at the beginning of the show. I talked about it on my show this weekend because the news actually broke as I was recording the sound off. And I got a text message and I was like, what? So I went online and sure enough, I saw the news. So I was able to talk about it for a little bit, just kind of off the cuff. And, you know, you may have been more of a regular ECW observer, you know, back then than I was. Because I wouldn't call myself a huge ECW guy back in the day. Like, I was aware of it.
Yeah.
And when I would check it out, Sabu was obviously one of the top stars on the show, and he was doing a lot of crazy stuff. But it was very surprising because also he was just in the news a few weeks ago over WrestleMania weekend. He just had what was supposed to be his retirement match against Joey Janela. And now all of a sudden we're hearing that he's dead at the age of 60. So that was very sad to hear.
Yeah, I woke up with that news and I'm like, it's just randomly out of nowhere. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And it immediately brought me back to thinking when I first got into ECW. You know, my parents were very strict on what time we were allowed to stay up. Like when Monday Night Raw first hit the airwaves in 1993, I was not allowed to stay up to watch it. I'd usually have my dad tape it and I'd watch it the next day on VHS when I got home from school. And then when we got a little bit older, my mom let us, stay up till 11. And then as soon as it's over, we go right to bed. ECW was on a completely different stratosphere. I mean, it was airing at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning here in New York City on several different networks.
Oh, it was even later than that. I mean, it would come on MSG Network sometimes at 3 a.m.
Yeah, it was very, very late. TNN.
Yes.
So obviously my parents were never going to allow us to stay up that late. I don't really think that they cared what we were watching per se, but it was just the time in which that show aired. So I went to Mount St. Michael High School in the Bronx, and through freshman year into sophomore year, I remember this kid that was in our class. His name was Joe Aceto. I don't know why I vividly remember his name. I know what he looked like. He was a big wrestling fan. We were all big wrestling fans. We all kind of gathered in the parking lot before the bell rang for homeroom, and we talked pro wrestling. You know, I was pro WWF at the time. There were a lot of people that went to WCW. Oh, you don't watch WCW? No, man, I'm watching Monday Night Raw. And then I'd hear back and forth. We exchanged stories about what we watched and what we heard on Monday night during the Monday Night Wars. And then ECW got brought into the discussion. I'm like, I don't know what that is. So, you know, on a whim, he was buying, you know, he was taping shows, and I bought a tape from him. And then that's obviously how I got introduced to ECW. And then obviously from there, I mean, it was just a rabbit hole of, you know, who the fuck is this guy? Look at this. Sabu, Rob Van Dam, the Sandman, Raven, Tommy Dreamer, Shane Douglas, you name it, Chris Candido. And Sabu obviously was one of the names that stood out. His act stood out more so than anybody. And, you know, I mentioned on Twitter just briefly just his feuds with RVD, his feuds with Jerry Lynn. You know, they really kind of hooked me as a fan for life. And he not only was an innovator, you know, you might not like the style of hardcore wrestling, but, you know, he's influenced that type of pro wrestler, and he's influenced even some of the people that you see today with the stuff that he used to do. And he will go down, as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, the greatest hardcore wrestler of our generation. I know Terry Funk is in the discussion. I mean, that was well before my time. I know I caught Terry Funk a little bit too late in the game, but as far as what we know of our generation, Sabu is the cream of the crop for that type of style.
Well, not even just the hard, like really violent hardcore stuff, but, you know, he was just doing stuff that was innovative and nobody else was doing here in the States at the time. So all the springboard moves and all the, you know, the high flying moves, which did not always look pretty, you know, he would do them, and he kind of became known for like botching moves and stuff. And it became part of his charm. And I think he would say sometimes he would do it on purpose. But he was doing crazy things. In fact, WWE on their Vault channel the other day uploaded one of his earliest, I guess, tryout matches, which was from '93. And he was wrestling Scott Taylor, who would go on to become Scotty 2 Hotty. And the things he was doing then, this is '93. Like, you just didn't see people in WWE doing that back then. And the fans, I was more interested in watching the fan reactions, and they're seeing him do some of the same dives he would do in ECW later on. And they were like, wow, like, we're not going to see this at the taping, you know, later this afternoon. So that was kind of interesting to see. But you mentioned the hardcore style, and I always think back to that Terry Funk match, which I've talked about on my show before, which I think was their Born to Be Wired show back in '97. And that has to be one of the, if not the most violent match in ECW history. And it's not just Sabu, but it's Terry Funk, who at that time was fucking old. And the things that Terry Funk was doing, and they end up entangled in barbed wire, and they had to be cut out with wire cutters. Like, it was sick stuff, you know, to the point where Paul Heyman said, well, we're never going to do another barbed wire match like this ever again. But Sabu didn't care. You look at the guy, and what did he have all over his body? Scars. Like, he had scars all over his body, and that was the match where he had to tape the wound shut on his arm, and he sent Fonzie out to go get super glue. And they have like high medical grade type super glue, but this was like, no, just go to 7-Eleven and buy a tube of super glue. And he super glued the wound shut and went on with his business because he was crazy. He was crazy, but that's what made him unique. And so, yeah, he had a little run there in WWE many years later, but yeah, like with a lot of the ECW guys, it was very watered down. Just the idea that he even wrestled John Cena is just kind of crazy to me to think about. He had one WrestleMania appearance, which was 23 in Detroit. So he can, you could say that he had a WrestleMania match to his resume. But yeah, I mean, the people that he influenced, it's countless. You know, you have people who will grow up watching someone, and that one person strikes a chord with them in some way. And you wonder how many wrestlers, you know, Sabu is that guy for. Maybe made them want to become a wrestler or made them a fan in the first place. So his style is still emulated today. As far as, you know, what happened there at the end, he was in terrible shape. I mean, if you just saw him in recent years doing interviews or convention appearances, he did not look well. And I believe his wife passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that he ever recovered from that. He seemed to take that very, very hard. And he had a lot of substance abuse issues. I don't know what his status was these days as far as that goes, but not surprising, you know, given the style that he worked. I'm sure he was in pain 24/7. But then there was all this talk about this retirement match, which I want to say they were going to do earlier, like previously, and I don't, maybe it didn't happen, but then it finally happened over WrestleMania weekend at the GCW show. And I wasn't watching the GCW show, but I did see clips from the match. And even in that match, and in the state that he was in, did you see some of the bumps that he took in that match?
I did see some of the clips on social media. Yeah.
I mean, the one bump where he fell out of the ring and just landed on his head on the concrete. And I think they kept the camera off him for several minutes, and yet, you know, he got back into the match and he finished the match. And it's like,
no, that's what he wanted, though. That's what I mean. That's what he wanted to do.
He went out having a Sabu style match. You know, if this was ECW 30 years ago or 25 years ago, that's exactly what he would have done. He would have been like, fuck you, I'm going back in, I'm going to finish the match. So, but again, 60 years old in the state that he was in, it was sad. I mean, I can see where fans of his would look at that and go, okay, that's the Sabu that I know, and that's what Sabu would want. Well, you know, sometimes what Sabu wants maybe isn't the best thing for Sabu. And I just was watching some of these clips, and I'm like, how is he even allowed to be out there in the first place? That's what I was saying weeks ago when I was seeing the clips. Forget the fact that now he's passed away, but I'm like, this is just crazy.
Well, I know you mentioned, his wife passing. I didn't really dive too deep into that, but I did see a couple of people that supposedly had known him personally on social media within the last 48 hours say exactly what Jason said, that he never really got over it. He was just emotionally distraught, even today over that, rightfully so. Painkillers, drugs, despite being as famous as he is in the pro wrestling sphere, never a millionaire. He worked into his 50s doing indie shows and indie appearances. He could barely walk. He was all ravaged and beaten up, obviously, from the style that he worked. I did some research. 2 years in a row, he actually no-showed the Indie Hall of Fame in 2023. Yes. In New York City. He no-showed, but he didn't no-show because he didn't want to be there. He no-showed because he had physical limitations that made travel near impossible. And, he also said that he didn't want to take the spotlight away from everybody else that was there to solely be on him.
Well, what was it, that show? Because there was a show where supposedly he was there, but he didn't want to come downstairs.
Oh, that was this year. Last year, WrestleMania Philadelphia, yeah. Yeah, okay. He was legitimately in the hotel room at the Sheraton, and he was there. He didn't want to come downstairs, and he was upstairs in the hotel room. But the thing is, Brett Lauderdale, the owner of GCW, paid an upfront deposit for Sabu to be there, $300, and then he didn't upfront. He kept the money, but then he eventually returned the money to Brett, and he didn't show after the deposit. But he eventually returned the money to Brett. And Brett gave it to a nice foundation in the LGBTQ community. So those were the last 2 years as far as him no-showing the Indie Hall of Fame. But then, like Jason said, we get to this past WrestleMania weekend, and he wrestled Joey Janela in what was supposed to be his last match. And then an interview came out with Janela, and in the days following the match, Janela did this interview with Phil Schneider of Yahoo Sports Uncrowned. That was published yesterday. We found out about this yesterday. One day after Sabu died at 60 years old, the interview and particularly Janela's description of Sabu in the hours leading up to and during the no-rope barbed wire match at Spring Break 9, which supposedly was the biggest spring break that Janela did. It's over 2,000 people there for WrestleMania weekend. That was on April 18th, which he says was embellished as he was trying to add to the lore and the unpredictability of Sabu, has led to scrutiny of the decision to book and go forward with the match. It also led to new statements from both Janela and GCW Brett Lauderdale, owner and booker. This is some quotes from the interview here. This is from Janela. He recounts how the match almost didn't happen due to Sabu's condition in Las Vegas prior to the show. I was fairly confident that he was fine. I was kept in contact with him, and he has a team of people around him, guys this time. They were all saying he was ready to go, that he was going to the gym, and he was on this training program. I believed them up until the day of the show. Then 2 hours before, I got a call, and they said, Sabu can't walk. So I said, what do you mean Sabu can't walk? They said, yeah, Sabu, something with his knee. They're locked up. He can't walk. His feet are bleeding. He's not coming. Sabu's not coming, I said. So he talked to Matt Tremont, and Tremont was about to be the replacement for Sabu in case he didn't show up for the match. I feel like this is going to be the most embarrassing moment of my wrestling career, says Janelle. There's 2,000 people here. This is one of the biggest spring breaks ever, the biggest crowd Mania weekend indie-wise, and I'm going to have to go out there and announce that Sabu once again no-showed, and no-showed his own retirement match. We're an hour into the show, and I said, just get Sabu here. So they gave him some. This is where it gets a little shady, because he did say, get Sabu here. What did they do to get him there? Nobody knows. Just get Sabu here. So they gave him something called Kratom. You can buy it at a smoke shop or something. It's like a legal opiate or something. They said he's hopping on the bed. He's hopping off the bed, and we're going to get him to the show. So he shows up 2 hours into the show, and Sabu's on a different fucking planet. Everyone in the backstage was like, what the fuck is going on? Is this match even going to happen? And my God, did it happen? So Janela gets into the spot that Jason just mentioned, where he went through the barbed wire and hit the concrete floor on the outside. Janela recounts that. He was definitely out cold. He was done. They were telling me there's no way. The refs were communicating to me that there's no way he's continuing this match. Like, holy shit. That is the one time you want the barbed wire to actually stop you. He just blew right through it. And then the Sandman came out. And that was all Sabu needed. And then the resurrection happened. Jesus resurrected 2 days later, the anniversary. Couldn't fucking believe it, dude. He was ready to go again. I guess the concussion knocked him back into 1996 or something. I don't know. And that was the last quote for Janela there that I got here. I got that from Cage Side Seats. I don't know, Jason. I'll let you start off, man, and then I'll give my thoughts and piggyback off what you say. What do you make of this and the whole Kratom argument online? I never heard of this, but before this last 24 hours, I didn't even know what the fucking this thing was. What do you make of this entire situation and how this interview came off with Janela?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Some of the stuff that he said in the interview, I don't know why he would have said that in the first place. I don't think it was wise to say some of the things that he said in the interview, even if this hadn't happened. The timing was just unfortunate because he did this interview in the days after the match, not knowing, obviously what was going to happen weeks later. So the timing is just awful. But I just think the whole situation to me is just sad. Now, the one thing I will say is that, Janela's been attacked online, and there's been a lot of things said about, oh, this led to his death and you killed him, which is, of course, a fucking stupid thing to say. I mean, the match at this point happened almost a month ago, and there's no indication connecting, point A to point B here. This is just people speculating and saying just whatever comes to their mind, and maybe they're just being emotional about the whole thing. But the reality is that, if we're being honest, Sabu had no business being in the ring. Now, he's an adult, and if he needs the payday and he wants to work, then he's going to work. I mean, there are a lot of wrestlers who, frankly, have no business being in the ring when they're 60 years old, or some people who are even younger than that. But in the physical state that they're in, they probably have no business being in the ring. But anybody who would look at Sabu or any of, whatever the last few matches were that he would have had, and then you read what he's talking about here in this article about how, Sabu is hurting and his feet are bleeding, and it's like, this guy shouldn't have been in a wrestling ring. So that just makes the whole situation sad, because this is more of sort of a larger wrestling industry issue. Yeah. With this whole idea of, the show must go on, and this is just what you do. You got to make your shots, or you got to, you got to make sure you show up because there are people there who are paying money to see you. And what are we going to do? We sold all these tickets. There are certain situations where, you know what, that's not the most important thing. And so that goes beyond just like a Joey Janela or GCW thing. That's just, as a general rule, that's just the way that it should be. And it just doesn't work out that way, unfortunately. So I read that and was just shaking my head. Like, this is a really shitty thing that happened. He's an adult. He can make his own decisions. All of that is true. I think there were other decisions made by people involved here that were not very wise, frankly. But to say that, well, because he wrestled at the GCW show, that, you know, Brett or Janela, they're responsible for his death, I just think is just a very stupid thing to be saying. And Janela posted something on social media kind of explaining how much Sabu meant to him, and, you know, he considered him a friend. And obviously he's broken up about the whole situation, as you would expect he would be. And he was lashing out at people on social media, which, of course, because he was getting a lot of shit from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Things he said in that interview were very stupid. All right. So he's not innocent as far as that goes. But I think we need to just, you know, this whole argument of, well, this is the reason why Sabu died. Like, you don't know that, and that's a very stupid thing to be saying. We don't even know the cause of death.
No.
We don't know anything. All we know is that he passed away.
Because all the shit that he did over 30 years of his career obviously had nothing to do with how he is physically today in 2025. It's like,
well, I said,
it could be
like,
a myriad
again,
of things.
He's been a wreck. Clearly, he's been a wreck for a while. So nobody should be jumping to conclusions as far as exactly what, you know, did him in until those details are released. And I'm sure they will be at some point, but we don't know. So people need to lay off as far as that goes. But if people want to criticize, you know, GCW or Joey Janela or any of the people involved here who got him to that show, then I think that's fair, because it just, you read this and it sounds very predatory. You know what I mean? Like, this guy was clearly not in the right frame of mind. I even made the comment, like, when I saw those clips from the match, I said, I don't know what Sabu was doing before the match, but he was not all there.
No.
Okay, he was doing something, whether it was Kratom or whatever else, and I'm not going to comment on that because I'm not an expert in it. But whatever it was, he clearly was not, you know, he was not there without some assistance of some kind.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why he really had no business being in the ring. And it's just a really sad situation, because I think you have, in the one case, a guy who probably fell into that old wrestler mentality, and maybe he just, you know, wanted the payday or whatever it was, and so he was going to go out there no matter what. It's like the Randy the Ram situation from The Wrestler. But then you also have other people involved here who should have, you know, seen this for what it was and should have been like, you know what, maybe this isn't really a great idea. And it just comes off like we have to get him in the ring no matter what.
Yeah, that's,
you know
the,
what
way,
I mean?
that's the way it read to me. Like Janela said, just get him here. Like, you know, they gave him Kratom, just get him here. Like what?
Do what you got to do. Get him here. And then I guess we'll just go from there and figure it out on the fly. And it's like, well, dude, I mean, if you're, you know, hearing that this guy is in this kind of distress or he's bleeding or whatever is going on here, you know, my first thought is, well, maybe we should call an ambulance, or somebody should drive him not to the venue, but maybe to the fucking ER and try to figure out what's going on here. And from what I read there, I didn't get the sense that was the first thought on anybody's mind. The first thought was, how can we get Sabu to the show? And that's just awful. I mean, it just is a really poor look for everybody involved. And there was a report from Fightful that GCW was embarrassed by some of the comments that were made in that interview, and spoke to Janela, and who knows what came out of that conversation. It was embarrassing. I mean, when you read that, imagine if you're not even like really a wrestling fan or a big wrestling fan, and you read that. Like, I am a wrestling fan, and I read that and I was embarrassed. But imagine somebody reading that who isn't like a huge wrestling fan or knows who Sabu even is, and they're reading this, and what they must be thinking, like, what?
It's just animalistic. It's like a fucking circus.
It's like, this is not normal. Like, this just shouldn't happen.
Now, Janela, like Jason said, Janela did tweet. He says he was devastated over the whole deal, and it's really affected him. Kratom is something Sabu took daily for years. It helped him get off other substances. Sabu loved his weed and Kratom. His body was wrecked doing what he loved for 40 years. I did an interview, this interview that we just read here, 2 days after the match, not knowing what would transpire weeks later. And I said he was knocked out after that spot when, despite being a rough deal, he was not that. I was trying to add to the lore and unpredictability of Sabu. I love Sabu. He legitimately was my idol growing up and my friend. I just wanted to give him and the fans one last great Sabu spectacle. Brett Lauderdale did tweet out because obviously, like Jason said, Fightful put out something. Brett said that Sabu was his friend as well, and I'm devastated to learn of his passing. He says, any suggestion that I or GCW or Joey Janela forced him to do this match, supplied him with substances, or somehow caused his death is irresponsible, disingenuous, hurtful, and false. It's upsetting and discouraging to see people so eager to cast judgment without knowledge of the facts. I would never knowingly put someone who I believed was a danger to themselves or others in the ring, and my track record shows this to be true. I have pulled people in a public and painful manner from big matches before, sometimes literal moments before a match was to begin, and would do it again if I had to. I spoke to Sabu moments before the match, and he was Sabu. He was the same Sabu I had encountered in years past when I participated in his matches as a referee and later as a promoter. He was the same Sabu I met with the following day at WrestleCon, and the same Sabu that made multiple appearances on podcasts and at conventions in the weeks that followed. Now, I guess you could take however you want, Brett Lauderdale's comments there. If like Jason also said, if you don't like GCW, you're going to go out and fucking spew what you got to spew. If you're with GCW, obviously you're going to be for GCW. But GCW certainly capitalized on Sabu's name value and everything that Sabu has accumulated, as far as his notoriety in pro wrestling. It's unclear if there was any mistreatment from anybody. We don't know what led to his passing. It's not been officially confirmed. If this was, aided in his passing, we have no idea. But with that said, the emotional strain, the financial strain that he went through, which was all public, and the physical toll that he worked for 30 years that it took on his body, it's obviously reignited some serious discussions now and conversations about how wrestling greats aging, in this particular instance, Sabu in his 60s, a lack of safety. There's no safety net in independent pro wrestling. And it's a reminder that legends like Sabu, who helped build hardcore wrestling into what it is today, unfortunately, the sadness of his passing, he often died without wealth, healthcare, and consistent support. Is this something that's going to now open people to maybe act a little differently, Jason, and look at situations like this with someone who is similar to Sabu at that age and, trying to push them to their limits at that age? Is it going to open people's eyes now to maybe do things a little bit differently?
No. I don't think we're going to see any changes to this. I mean, you have in like the mainstream promotions, the big promotions like WWE and TNA, and even with TNA, they were in the news recently for this blood ban, which, I mean, we can mention it if you want, but in the bigger companies, they have protocols in place where something like this you would never see there. Like, I mean, if he were to show up, let's say, for a match like that, like the chances of them allowing him to go out there are very slim. Now, of course, many years ago in TNA, you had the situation with Jeff Hardy at Victory Road where he showed up. He was clearly in no condition to perform, and they allowed him to go out there, which was a boneheaded decision, and it bit them on the ass. And that was, 15 years ago now, 14 years ago. Certain promotions will have policies in place to try to prevent stuff like this, err on the side of caution, because they don't want to be, they don't want to be held responsible if something goes wrong, if you want to just look at it purely selfishly. As far as the independent scene, it still is in many ways the Wild West. Every promotion is going to have its own policies. Every promotion is going to be different. It depends what state you're in as far as, is there commission oversight? Is there no commission oversight? I don't know what the situation was there as far as the commission or how it is in Nevada, which I think is where it took place, right? It was in Vegas.
Yeah.
So I don't know how or if the commission may have factored into that or not. I think that going forward, every promotion will handle things the way that they want to handle things. And, if they have somebody coming in who's a legend, who's going to be wrestling, and they show up, and I mean, unless they are just completely like, tripping over themselves, unable to do anything, and then they're like, okay, we can't let this guy go out there. I'm sure there's going to be future instances where people show up who have no business being in the ring, and, well, they're in the main event, or they're on the card, and people paid money to come see them, so they're going to perform. If they say they're okay, then I guess they're okay. And you don't have a team of doctors who can pull them aside to go check them out. like you would in WWE.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think anything is going to change. I think people may stop now for 5 seconds and think about it and go, okay, yeah, we should probably be a little more cautious. But then going forward, I feel like nothing ever changes. You could probably find situations like this over the years, and you think, well, maybe this should be a wake-up call, but it never is. So, I mean, I hate to say that, but you asking me, do I think this is going to give people pause in the future in a similar type of situation? The people who would not put themselves in this position will not put themselves in this position. And the people who would are going to continue to. And I don't really see anything changing unless they are, again, putting on a show in a state or a place where there are certain parameters that they have to stay within, which would be like, commission type stuff. Beyond that, no, I don't think anything's really going to change. Wrestling promoters are going to be wrestling promoters. And unfortunately, sometimes you see what you saw in that match where you just look at the guy and you're like, how is this guy allowed to be in the ring to do, and not just in the ring, but dude, like the kind of match he was doing.
They just went from 0 to 1,000. It's like the fuck?
But think about it. Like Sabu is out there, right? And Brett Lauderdale says, yeah, I talked to Sabu and he sounded like Sabu. Like there was no reason for me to be concerned. But like you also have to look at it and go, okay, if you really know the guy, right? Is Sabu the kind of guy who you think if he felt that he was not 100% and maybe he shouldn't be out there, that he would pull himself from the show?
Yeah.
No. So sometimes like the talents are their own worst enemy. And you have to be better than that. And if you're the promoter, say, okay, you may feel okay and you may want to do this, but you know what? I have to make a final decision here. There are also situations, and I don't know because, I wasn't in the locker room. I didn't see Sabu. I didn't talk to him that day. But I saw what I saw, and a lot of people did, and commented on it at the time. And that's why I said it was very sad just to see him out there and throwing himself and getting tangled up in the barbed wire, but then falling out of the ring was just, that to me, I don't know how he got back into the match after that. But that scared the shit out of me when I saw that. And I'm sure it scared the shit out of Janela too when he saw that. And maybe it's just one of these macho toughness things where, I've got to get back in the match. Like, holy shit, this guy's tough. Yeah, well, you don't think about the repercussions of that after the fact. And when he goes back to the locker room, what kind of physical state is he going to be in? But having said all of that, again, the people online blaming them for his death and you're complicit in his, like, pump the brakes.
It is a little bizarre that they blame Janela for his death. Like, give me a fucking break. And Janela's made some questionable decisions and said some questionable things online, but I'm not going to attribute Sabu's death to Joey Janela.
No, I mean, to me, that's just ridiculous. And we'll find out exactly what happened because he was 60 years old. Obviously, most people do not die at 60. There are other factors involved. We don't know what they are. But it's worth pointing out that in the weeks after that GCW show, it's not like Sabu didn't make other appearances. He did make other appearances at conventions. I think, 10 days before his death, he did some podcasts. I saw video of it online. He did a show. So he was out doing other things.
He was right back at WrestleCon the next day.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. He was doing signings, but he did a podcast of some kind within the last 7 to 10 days of his death. So he was still out there and doing stuff. And then this happened, unfortunately. So I just think the timing was very bad if you're GCW, and the timing of that interview coming out when it did made it even worse because you just read, and Janela can say what he wants about, well, I was lying, I was just embellishing, and he wasn't really knocked out. Like, well, is that the case, or is he just kind of trying to cover his ass now? Well, I mean, we'll never know, but the timing of it did not do him any favors. Let's just put it like that.
No, rest in peace to Sabu. A childhood icon growing up and obviously influenced the generation. And, it's just a sad state of affairs this weekend, 60 years old. Any more news on whatever comes out of the situation, we'll definitely keep you guys posted. Jason did mention a TNA Bloodbath. This is coming from PW Insider. They reported this past week that an internal meeting was held at TNA indicating that they are no longer permitting blood. So we're told that the company felt like that it went overboard as of late, and said that they wanted it to mean more whenever it was that they decided to do it again. In addition to that, John Alba of Sports Illustrated noted that TNA has been shopping Impact's broadcast rights around, something that PW Insider said that they can confirm they've been doing for quite some time. Alba noted that the edict to eliminate blood could have been a reaction to helping make it more broadcast friendly. So that is the latest there. That's news to me. I didn't really read that report until just now. I agree with the blood ban. If that's the reason, if that's what they're going to go and do and use it when it's most necessary to give it more meaning, I am absolutely for that 100%. But as far as the TV rights deal, Jason, if they're shopping around, you know, they got one hell of a roster over there. If they get something anywhere close to like what CW is with NXT, man, we might be having some competition here with AEW and TNA for number 2 promotion in the United States.
Well, the blood ban, I have no issue with that, and the reasoning for it, I think it makes all the sense in the world. Plus, with the relationship now with WWE, this is not shocking to me. There was a match recently. I know Steve Macklin was involved. It might have been Macklin and Eric Young, and they had like a bloodbath. I mean, it was bloody. And so I'm not shocked either by the idea of, well, we may have gone a little overboard with that, so we're going to try to tone it down. I always say, like, use it when there is a reason to use it. We got double juice in the match with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre when they did their Hell in a Cell match, right? But it was Hell in a Cell, and it was the culmination of their feud, and it made sense. If you were going to do it, that was the time to do it. Do we see that all the time? And I'm just using WWE here as an example. Do we see that all the time in WWE? No. That's why it felt more meaningful.
Well, when was the last time we saw blood inside a Hell in a Cell? Been a while.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
no, I couldn't tell you. But as far as this, the TNA thing, from what I read, it's a case where it'll be used sparingly. And obviously, if there's hard way blood, somebody gets their skull cracked open. I mean, no one's going to get in trouble for that because stuff happens. But I think it makes all the sense in the world. I think it's smart. I think you don't want to abuse it because when you do it all the time, it loses all meaning. And so what's the point in doing it then? If you're doing it in multiple matches on the same show or you're doing it every single week, to me, it's pointless.
Yeah. What do you make of the TNA potentially shopping their brand for a TV rights deal, according to John Alba? I mean, with the partnership with WWE, I mean, they have some solid backing there. And like I mentioned, they have a tremendous roster of talent. I mean, could you see them getting something like a CW NXT type deal? And then how does that factor into where we're looking at the pro wrestling landscape in the United States here?
I don't know about CW. That would be probably a little bit bigger than I would envision them being able to get, but it's something they've had to do now for a long time. You know, they're on Access TV, and Access TV is owned by Anthem. Anthem owns TNA. And so I'm sure for them, being able to take this property and have it as sort of the lead program on their other property, you know, makes business sense for them. But not a lot of people have Access TV. Not a lot of people have access to Access. And so their audience on there is minuscule compared to how it would be if they were able to get on a bigger, even just a cable station. It doesn't have to be a broadcast station like a CW or an affiliate deal, which would be great if they were, you know, syndicated throughout the entire country. But they got to get off Access. I think that's partly what has held them back over the years. You know, think about the history of this company. Many years ago, they were on Spike TV, right? And that was a big deal because Spike was where WWE was for many years. So they had all that exposure on Spike TV. And ever since then, they have bounced around from place to place. It was, I think, Pop TV. It was Destination America. And then I can't even remember the names, honestly, of all the other stations they've been on. And then ultimately they ended up on Access. And
weren't they like on a hunting channel somewhere?
Yes, I think that might have been Destination America.
Imagine fucking watching Impact TV and then you go fly fishing.
That's what it was, though. That was the type of programming that they had on there. It didn't make any sense. It was like they were just grabbing whatever they could.
That's why Spike TV was so cool, man. It was a male-dominated audience. You see to Impact and you see John Taffer fucking cursing every other word.
Yeah, but it was also available in tens of millions of homes, you know, more than what they're in now. So that, I think, has been a real obstacle for them now for many years as far as expanding their audience. The partnership with WWE has helped, but they need to get on a better station. So I don't want to say it doesn't matter what station they get onto as long as they leave access, because again, they could end up on the hunting channel. But as long as they can get onto a station that people have, I mean, no pun intended, better access to, and can give them a wider audience, I think it's nothing but a positive. And I'm happy for them that apparently they are shopping it around. I think that's what they should be doing. I thought Anthem might be resistant to it. The fact that they're open to it, I think, is a great idea. And I think it's something they need to do if they want to grow their audience.
Yeah, I think that's great. Fox Sports Net, Spike TV, Destination America, Pop, Access TV. So it must have been Destination America then. Oh, no, the show briefly aired on Pursuit Channel. That's what it was.
Ah, yes. Yes. The Pursuit channel. Yes, the pursuit of no audience. And then they moved on from there. So it's just been like a steady decline as far as all the different stations they've been on since the Spike day. I think before Spike, they did have their show on Fox Sports Net. And that might have been a time buy. But like Spike was like the crown jewel for them. And then ever since then, it's just been downhill from there.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated on that. John Alba's a good source there, so there's obviously some smoke to that fire with that report from him in Sports Illustrated.
Ben says it was a pursuit to find the channel. Yes, I can tell you I didn't have Pursuit. I don't think I have Access TV here on Verizon, but I never had Pursuit. No, I don't have access on YouTube TV. But yeah, they got to get on a better station. So if they can do that. Then it doesn't have to be a CW or a CW type of station per se, but if they can get on a better station, then that to me is the biggest move they could possibly make. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Speaking of TNA, Joe Hendry, he is the TNA World Champion. And apparently, as if you guys didn't know already, WWE is very high on Joe Hendry and a future deal is expected. And this is coming from PW Insider as well. The feedback has been so favorable that sources within WWE, according to PW Insider, believe Hendry signing with them is pretty much considered a lock once his contractual obligations with TNA are fulfilled. The strong sentiment underscores the high value WWE seemingly places on Joe Hendry. A significant portion of this internal praise is attributed to Hendry's impactful performance during WrestleMania 41 weekend, where he was hand-chosen by Randy Orton. So everybody's like, oh, he's buried. Randy Orton chose him specifically for that match. So that's not a burial. He notably stepped up on short notice to face Randy Orton after Kevin Owens was sidelined with an injury. Beyond that high-profile WrestleMania appearance, PW Insider also notes that Hendry has been internally commended for his creative input and his excellent receptiveness to feedback and advice. The report added that due to these qualities, the current TNA champion is held in high regard by influential figures within WWE, strongly suggesting a future move could be on the horizon. Jason, the sky is blue, man. Jesus Christ. We know that this is coming, and this is not really new information. I mean, this has been coming for over a year. So, yeah, this is... But you know what? Every time I hear him, and he just did another interview with Chris Van Vliet. Yeah. And, you know, you listen to him talk, and he gets it. You know, you listen to him speak and the way he talks and the way he sort of understands his position, understands the value that he brings. And, you know, he was refuting everybody who was saying just what you said before. He's buried, you know, because Randy Orton beat him at WrestleMania. And he's like, well, no, actually, this is how I look at it. And then this is how the kind of business we did in the aftermath of WrestleMania. And he understands it. And I'm sure WWE appreciates that and looks at him and says, okay, this guy, you know, he's not just a team player, but, you know, he's somebody who we want to have in our stable. And as soon as he's free and clear, he's absolutely going to end up in WWE. Now, is he going to end up as WWE champion? Maybe not. But that doesn't mean that him going to WWE, that he won't be in a good spot, especially if they see, you know, the value that he brings. And if he continues maybe to evolve or whatever that looks like, maybe he'll come up with another song or something. I don't know, but he's a talented guy. By all accounts, he's a really nice guy. I've met him before. I have friends of mine who've met him at conventions and stuff, and just a really down-to-earth, nice guy who appreciates his fans and always takes time with them and seems to say all the right things. So I think the potential for him to become even bigger than he is now is certainly there. And it's just a matter of, I think, waiting it out, and when he gets the opportunity to do so, I see no reason why he wouldn't end up, whether it's NXT or the main roster, but ending up in WWE. And he was talking about John Cena also in that interview. I don't know if you saw what he said about John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena. I don't know. I didn't listen to the interview, but I think he also mentioned that during a Busted Open interview as well. A couple of days after WrestleMania, they interviewed him, and he said John Cena pulled him aside in the back after the match was over and said that he was basically on his way to being a big superstar in professional wrestling if he just continues to do what he's doing. So he got praise from Randy Orton and John Cena on the same weekend. Yeah.
Well, he said he has made a prediction that he will wrestle John Cena this year on Cena's retirement tour. And he has nothing, there's nothing that he's been told or been given any indication about anything. There's nothing in the works. I mean, even if there was, I'm sure he wouldn't tip people off. But Cena, I think it was after the Rumble or at the Rumble, he said Cena pulled him aside and said, look, I don't mind you going out and doing what you're doing, which is because he was going on Busted Open in these different shows, and he was basically trying to get a match. He was lobbying for a match with John Cena. And he said, look, I don't mind you going out and doing that, but you've got to make it happen. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. And we know Cena only has a finite number of dates left between now and the end of the year. So is it going to happen? I don't know. I don't necessarily share the same confidence that he does. I did say at the beginning of the year when I was talking about predictions for 2025, they have that show coming up on July 20th that they're going to be at UBS. I think it's Slammiversary.
And they have one in Los Angeles too, don't they?
Well, I think that happened already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that just happened. So their next big show is the one at UBS, and that's a big building for them, and they're going to have a lot of tickets to sell. And one way that they could certainly sell tickets is if they were able to advertise John Cena for that show. Now, John Cena is the WWE champion. So is WWE going to allow John Cena to work a match, no less, on a TNA pay-per-view? I know they have a partnership. I don't know if the partnership is yet at a place where they would allow that to happen. But if it was going to happen, I think that's the place where it would. Don't you agree? I mean, if it was going to happen, I don't see him walking out in the Impact Zone. No. It would be on a show like that.
Well, John Cena would almost have to say, I'm doing this for him, and then show up there. WWE's not going to tell him no. Isn't that something? What date is that show? UBC?
I believe it's July 20th.
Okay, so a couple weeks before SummerSlam then.
Yeah. It's probably just under 2 weeks before SummerSlam. So, but look, Joe Hendry is on WWE television, right? He might even be on NXT tonight. Like, he's currently actively on WWE television. He's doing stuff with Trick Williams. So, he's got a presence on their show. It wouldn't be hard for them to shoot an angle where he calls out John Cena, calls him out for healing on the fans. And how can you, turn against all these people that have stood with you for all these years? Like, it wouldn't be that hard, I think, for them to shoot that angle and come up with a reason why is this match happening. Joe Hendry could call him out for the way that he's been behaving lately and then just kind of go from there. And if it makes sense to do it, they'll find a way to make it happen. But it's a tall order. I hope it happens for him because I think that would be amazing for him. Clearly, it means something to him, and he really wants it. And this is his last chance to get it because after this year's scene is done. Like, if he goes to WWE at the end of the year, let's say his contract is up. I don't know when his deal is up. But let's say at the end of the year his contract is up and he goes to WWE, it's too late. Because Cena's done at the end of the year. So for him, I hope it happens. It's
everybody's got a dream, bro. Everybody has to have that one dream where they just plaster that thing on the fucking bulletin board in the office, man. They look at it every morning, they have their coffee.
It's nice to have goals.
Yes. Yeah. But he's 37 years old. So my question is to you, he was fucking, everybody was talking. I mean, honest, I'm being so truthful with you guys. I always am. I didn't have a fucking clue who Joe Hendry was before his song blew up on the charts. I'm like, I heard it online. I immediately became captivated with it because I love, I have an ear for music. I'm like, who is this guy? So obviously I seen some of the clips that TNA was posting on social media. I'm like, I like this guy. This is they got something here. So I found out about him legitimately about a year ago. I had no idea. I don't watch TNA wrestling. So he's 37 years old. at that point, Jason, you would say, I mean, he was just everywhere. He was as hot can be. And I know a lot of people in the community are like, they didn't give him the championship. They didn't give him the championship. And then on the third try, they gave him the championship. But his star was still bright, but it wasn't as bright as it was, about a year ago. At 37 years old, if WWE's going to get him this year, like I believe, like you said, you are correct. They could do whatever they can to rebuild him and give him something new and keep him, that momentum going. Is WWE getting him way too far past his hotness, per se? What do they do there at 37 years old?
I mean, they just brought in Jeff Cobb, who's 42. Him being 37, I don't think is necessarily a huge obstacle.
People are going to complain, I'm sure. Oh, 37 years old, but they let this one go.
Well, yeah, but okay, so when he was at the peak of his popularity, and it's arguable, what you would consider the peak to be. Was it last summer? Was it the beginning of this year when he won the title? Was it?
Yeah, I would say last summer, yeah.
I would say last summer, fall is where it really felt like he kind of hit that peak. And look, people fall from the peak a little bit, but they're still very popular, and that's okay. And he has been able to maintain his popularity. He came out there in front of 50-something thousand people at WrestleMania and got a huge reaction. It's not like when they hit his music, on WrestleMania, what was it, WrestleMania Sunday, I think, that people groaned. Like, he got this incredible reaction. So you can't say Joe Hendry is not popular anymore. If
they're singing your theme music word for word, I think you're pretty popular.
Well, it's a catchy theme. How can you not sing along to it? It's impossible to predict, when he'll come down from that. I mean, people were saying that last year, like, give it a few more months. He's just a song. Same thing they say about Jey Uso. Oh, he's just a song. And in a few months, it'll die down and he'll go back to being a mid-card guy. And so here we are now, probably almost a year later, when people were saying that, and he's still doing pretty well. So I can't sit here and predict to you that, this is when, they have to do something with him by this date, or else I don't even know when he's going to be contractually available. Like, he could have a year left on his contract for all we know. We don't know. I think it's later this year, but we don't know the exact date. 37 years old, it's not ideal. Yeah, obviously time is against him, but I think he can do fine. Like, he can end up in WWE, even if he's not a world champion. I think he can end up in a really good spot. They've signed other people. I mentioned Jeff Cobb, who just debuted last weekend at Backlash. He's an incredible athlete. I think he'll do well. He's 42. So the age thing I'm not too worried about, but as far as has he peaked or not, maybe he peaked, but he's still doing pretty well. He's still in a good spot.
Is this the first sign of talent from TNA that's going to jump to WWE? And the rumors of, maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the line, WWE ends up buying TNA. Is this the first sign of that? Because we got Joe Hendry, we got Tessa, we got Masha Slamovich, we got Mike Santana. There's some great talent over there. Obviously, if there is any place for them to go, it would probably be WWE. Do they have that mindset that when those names do come available, that WWE is going to scoop them up as well, just like Joe Hendry?
Of course. Of course. You don't think that isn't part of the plan here with this partnership?
I know it's a part of the plan.
It's a pipeline now. They have a pipeline, a direct pipeline. Do the same thing with AAA.
Yeah.
This is what they do. They want to make sure.
Well, if Tony Khan wanted to act fast enough, he could have had another Forbidden Door, but he didn't.
Well, he's got the relationship with CMLL and New Japan. So he's cultivated relationships with other promotions. WWE wasn't doing that until Tony Khan started doing that.
I know.
Right? Forbidden Door, working with New Japan, all of a sudden. Now, part of it was Vince, and Vince went away, and Triple H may just have a different mentality, but it is kind of funny how a lot of this stuff was going on, started to happen with AEW, and then WWE all of a sudden, they want to be in business with everybody. They got partnerships with TNA, and they got partnerships with Pro Wrestling Noah over in Japan, and now they just bought a 51% controlling interest in the second biggest Lucha Libre promotion in Mexico. And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So
Triple H was definitely swimming in the baby pool. Like, he wanted to work with other promotions, but he dipped his toe in the pool. But now, he's just like, anybody that wants to work with us, here we are, man. We're right here. It's like, yeah, we know that you're like that, but you're doing it for a very specific reason, man. We're not stupid.
Yeah. It's a business decision. And he worked out a relationship, I think, with Evolve, back when Triple H was still doing the NXT thing. So that's why I say, like, it's a different mentality, and maybe he would have done something like this, even in the absence of an AEW. But what we're seeing now is one of the reasons why I always say competition is so very important. And competition can spur on so many different things, good and bad, but competition overall is a good thing. And yes, to answer your question, it's a pipeline to talent for them now. It doesn't mean those talents are going to want to go to WWE, but let's be honest, most of those talents, if given the opportunity, are not going to say no to WWE. Of course not.
Yeah.
Right? It's their dream. It's their goal in this business to get to the biggest company and make as much money as possible. But not everybody is going to want to go there. And the people that don't want to go there, they will go to AEW or they will go work internationally and they will do other things. But WWE knows it's like the ID program, right? I mean, what is the ID program? They get first dibs on independent talents that they might want to eventually sign. It's like stamping, it's like tattooing the WWE logo on their body and saying, okay, we got first dibs on you. If at some point you really blow up into something on the independent scene in 3 years, we can sign you. I mean, that's really what that is.
Yeah. Who's going to be lucky to get Cappuccino Jones? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Or who's the other guy? Really, he was a lot of fun. Jack Cartwheel.
Yeah, he's good too. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Cartwheel was fun to watch.
So yeah, that's the latest there on TNA. We'll keep with the free agent news and some of the releases. We got some news on the releases as well that happened a couple Fridays ago. We'll start with this, being that we're talking about Triple H. As if nobody really understands this. I mean, he obviously had a say in it, and then it was officially confirmed. I guess if you want to believe them, the Observer. Meltzer shed light on the internal directives and specific reasons leading to numerous departures a couple Fridays ago from the main roster of NXT. Main roster, like you guys know, Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler, Dakota Kai, just to name a few. Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, Gallus, Eddie Thorpe, and Jakara Jackson were some of the notable names from NXT. Meltzer reported that a directive within the WWE was to clear roster space. Thanks, Dave. This was aimed at creating openings on the main roster for upcoming talent from NXT and freeing up spots in NXT for new wrestlers to gain television experience. The report indicated that this strategy essentially targeted those who were around, but it was felt like they had little main roster potential. I could see where he's coming from with that. That's not really all that difficult to figure out. Regarding some of the NXT-specific cuts, Meltzer cited multiple WWE sources, outlined several factors that influenced these decisions. On the NXT side, decisions were made based on the feeling some talent was lazy, had not improved enough, were injury-prone, or the feeling that they were not connecting. The final decisions on which talent would be released reportedly rested on Paul Levesque, Triple H. However, Meltzer noted it is not known if he was told a number that he had to release, a dollar amount that he had to cut in these releases, or if it was all at his discretion. Nobody's ever going to know. Did he have a hand in it? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and think Mark Shapiro or fucking Ari Emanuel is going to know who Jakara Jackson is and Eddie Thorpe is. I mean, Triple H was cited, given, hey, we need to cut talent. Who needs to stay? Who needs to go? And that's the decision that ultimately fell into his lap. So I'm not surprised by that at all.
No, I'm not. It is interesting. The news came out today that Strowman is getting his own show on USA Network.
But I also did hear that he was going to be brought back on a, what's the word that they use? Like, if they want to use him, they'll bring him back. If not, it's not going to be a full deal type of deal for him.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the same thing. I don't know if that's confirmed, that it may have been a case where they released him from his full-time deal, but they may have an understanding that if and when there is a need for him, they are open to bringing him back for like 2-3 months, 3-4 months at a time. Which honestly, if they came up with some kind of arrangement where he may not be full-time anymore, but they are open to having him back, it probably makes more sense for him just physically. Because
agreed,
we've talked about the physical state. He is 40-year-old big guy with bad knees. And you could tell, like, him out there, it was painful to watch sometimes. And he willed himself through it. But, you know, he got hurt a bunch of times. And, you know, we talked about the last man standing match with Bronson Reed and tearing his groin and finishing the match and then working with Jacob Fatu. There is value still in someone like him, but on a full-time basis, probably not. And probably better off for him to have him in limited doses. And if they have other ways of working with him, I don't know when this deal was reached for this. Is it a cooking show or
it's like that Man Eats Food type of show?
Okay.
He
Well,
goes,
that
he goes
sounds
around different places and tries all their. It's like Diners, Drive-In, and Dives with
Yeah, Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
All right. So honestly, that sounds like something right up his alley. And so I like that idea. And maybe that was part of the idea here, which is that, okay, look, you're making a lot of money working as a full-time performer. And I'm sure financially that was the biggest factor, in his name being on the cut list. But it's like, all right, doesn't mean we won't use you again. And maybe we can work with you in these other ways. We have this idea for a show. And I think that's actually pretty cool. If they have other ways they can work with him instead of just cutting him and saying like, all right, goodbye. We have no need for you anymore.
Yeah, this is why I found it very hard to believe because, I'm not the biggest Strowman fan, but the way that they utilized him in this second go-around, I thought they used him to the best of his abilities, but the financial burden that he probably had for his contract, and then obviously, we documented the injuries. Meltzer also said that Strowman was believed to be hurt worse than people realize. So, I honestly do believe that they're going to bring him back on a 3 to 4 month basis, but now they're letting him go for financial reasons and to get better and heal himself up and then bring him back when they got something for him. Like you said, Jason, I think that's the best way to go about using him because, he's an impactful guy. You don't want to have him on the roster and not use him. So you bring him back when you need him and then, you don't use him when you don't need him. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you have an idea for him or, he may pop up in the Royal Rumble, or something like that. So at least it's a case where, he'll be utilized and not just sort of, cast aside. Because we were talking about like, well, would he really be a good fit for AEW or some other promotion? I don't think he would be at all. I mean, I just think that would be a bad fit. So like, where does he go? If he wants to continue to wrestle, like, do you just do independence? Is his asking price going to be too high? Because I remember that being an issue the first time after he got released. And there were rumors going around of what his asking price was. And as I recall, I don't think he was doing too many indies. And that's probably one of the reasons why. So I don't know what his intentions or his goals are physically, what he feels like he's able to do or not do. But that show sounds like something that would probably be right up his alley.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in that type of thing. I think that's going to be entertaining for him. Dakota Kai. People in WWE believe Dakota Kai should sign with AEW. This is also coming from Dave Meltzer. Kai was among the numerous releases a couple of weeks ago. She wrestled on the indie scene as Evie from 2007 until signing with WWE at the end of 2016. And Meltzer says she's a very good wrestler, has a name. Fans will know her immediately. Her nearly decade-long experience on the independent scene as Evie, coupled with her WWE tenure, makes her a valuable free agent. She should be a welcomed addition to any roster she joins, Meltzer says. I think she's going to end up in AEW. I really do. I think she's going to have a much better go-around there than she would have in WWE. I think this is going to be a blessing in disguise for her. I don't know why people are still making a big deal that she was let go. I think she is going to be, she's out of everybody that we talked about last week, she's going to be one of the people that are going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think AEW is probably a likely landing spot for her. And I think she'll be a solid addition to that women's division.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not particularly new information, but that was coming out of the Observer as well. Some AEW contract news here. Willow is in a contract year. Willow Nightingale, an integral part of the women's division. She had a big year last year, and then the year before that as well. She came into her own. Fightful Select and Sean Ross Sapp learned that Willow Nightingale is in her contract year with AEW, with the deal set to expire in a few months as things stand, though the exact date is unclear. Those that we've spoken to say Sapp in AEW claim that Willow is a priority for the company and someone that they want to keep around. It's probably no surprise that Willow is well-liked in the company. All Elite Wrestling expects to retain Willow from what Fightful understands. And everyone that Fightful spoke to in AEW believes that it's a guarantee Willow will be offered extension to remain with AEW. Now, I don't think she's going anywhere. I think Tony would be a fool to let her go because she really hasn't been maximized to her full potential. And I do think that there is so much more there for her to do. But, man, I tell you, if Triple H really wants to fucking focus on women's wrestling, I mean, I'd be throwing a nice contract offer out there to Willow. I could see her potentially jumping ship. And if Triple H wants to throw anything at anybody, I think that's the name to do it. I don't know how you feel about that, Jason, but I do think at the end of all of this, she ends up staying with Tony Khan.
Yeah, I mean, if I just had to make a prediction, my guess is that she probably stays in AEW.
Yeah.
It's just a feeling I have. I mean, there's nothing specific to base that off of. I think if he's going to throw money at anybody to make sure he gets them, it's going to be Mariah May first and foremost. But I think wherever she lands, I mean, Willow is going to be a huge asset to that women's division because I think she's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's one of the best they have. She's worked in multiple promotions. So how might that factor into her decision making? Is that something she wants to continue to do? She'll have more freedom to do that working for AEW, although WWE now is sort of coming out of their shell a little bit and allowing certain people to do that, but not the way that AEW allows talent to go out and sort of book themselves. And then at that point, we'll see, what's the most important thing to her? Is it that freedom? Is it the money offer? Is it just that she feels some sort of loyalty to AEW and wants to stay there and has friends there? I don't know. Every wrestler is different. It's very interesting because every wrestler's mentality is different. As far as like what's the most important thing, what's the deciding factor to them? It's not always just the money. And I don't really think that Tony Khan is going to offer her peanuts. So she's going to get paid, no matter where she goes. And she's great. So wherever she ends up, I look forward to seeing, what she can do. Obviously in WWE, she'll have newer faces to work with, which is kind of intriguing. Imagine, Willow in there with a Rhea Ripley or a Julia.
Or Jordan Grace.
I mean, my God.
I know.
So that to me is very appealing. But like you, I feel like she stays in AEW. I feel like Mariah leaves and Willow stays.
Yeah, Willow's 31 years old. I think there's enough time there for her to get a nice payday from AEW. And then if she wants to do anything after that, she can do whatever she wants. But you did mention Mariah, and I'm going to mention Mina. Mina Shirakawa is joining AEW, expected to get a major push, supposedly, upon arrival. And I have a feeling why. Fightful Select confirmed last month that Mina is headed to AEW after she told our outlet, says SAP, that she was making a move to the United States. Now that move is upon us, Fightful is told. Mina is set to appear on AEW programming as of tomorrow. She's in a Fatal 4-Way Eliminator, man. Another Eliminator match with Toni Storm, Miss Eliminator. She's in there with Sky Blue and someone else. I think who just wrestled Mercedes this past weekend.
Boy, these
AZM, I think she's in there with.
Azumi.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Azumi.
Yeah. Okay.
She lost. Mercedes lost.
She didn't get pinned, though.
She didn't. But she still lost. She lost her Strong Women's Championship. She held it for almost a year. So she's got one less belt now to walk around with.
Gee, I wonder what she's going to replace that with.
Or maybe, or if you want to look at it as the glass half full instead of the glass half empty, is this the start of her losing each title one by one?
And you're really hopeful for that, huh? You're quite the optimist.
I don't know if
You're quite the optimist, bro.
I don't know if it's hope or delusion, but I'm trying to be. I just really want Jamie Hayter to win that match at Double or Nothing.
I think everybody does. I just don't think people believe that it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I know.
So Mina is set to come back to AEW tomorrow, and she's in that Eliminator with Toni Storm and Sky Blue, who's also returning. Nice to see Sky Blue back. Mina impressed many in her runs with AEW in the past. So the one thing that stood out to me here, Jason, is, again, I don't know if this is a conspiracy or a hot take per se, but the Fightful report did say that she's expected to get a major push upon arrival. And knowing how, we've seen AEW act when one talent leaves and they get iced, and, you want to mention Guantanamo Bay and they sit at home and get paid nicely. Mina's coming in and she's going to get a nice push. Does that mean, now this is just me, this has nothing to do with anybody else, but Mariah's on the way out. They're upset, so they're going to push her very good friend Mina Shirakawa very heavily on AEW television because Mariah's going bye-bye and going to Triple H. Is that a possibility?
No. I think, unless it was being done as a way to, if they feel like it would ingratiate themselves with Mariah and maybe convince her to stay, as opposed to being something like, oh yeah, well, watch this. That I can maybe have a better chance of seeing. Like, hey, we're giving a big push to Mina and we'd love to do something with you and Mina. So I think Mariah is going to make her decision independent of that, whatever choice she ultimately makes. But what does that really mean? Like, Mina's in the Eliminator match tomorrow. So the idea that she's going to be coming in and getting a major push, if she wins the Eliminator, then she would be challenging Toni Storm probably a Double or Nothing. What does that mean? A title change? Because I don't see that.
Well, you're basing it on the fact that Toni Storm will be wrestling at Double or Nothing. I don't even think she's going to be doing that.
But okay, but it's an eliminator match. So if anybody other than Toni wins and becomes #1 contender, when would they be doing that match? It's not going to be in Texas because that's what the Owen is going to decide. So if not at Double or Nothing, then when? Because there's no other pay-per-view between Double or Nothing and All In.
Well, if there's one match for her to lose without being pinned, this would be it. I mean, we have Mina coming back. She needs a big showing. Sky Blue's coming back. I mean, this is the first match in, a year? And she's in a match that a lot of people expect her to lose, maybe even take the pinfall. I don't know why these women are in this match when they're just now coming back to television. Don't you want to feature them as a strong talent in the division?
I don't know why we had 2 eliminator matches on Dynamite last week and the champions just won them.
I don't know.
I mean, they did the same thing with the women last week. They had a 4-way, right? It was Toni, it was Thunder Rosa, it was Anna Jay, and Penelope Ford. And Megan Bayne got involved. And then Toni just won. And I watched that and I'm like, well, what was the point of this? Because it was the same thing there where you could have had Toni lose without being pinned. Somebody else wins. And that's how you get a #1 contender, in the meantime, until the Owen stuff works itself out. But Toni won. So I'm like, well, what was the point of this? I mean, I knew Okada was going to beat Kevin Knight. If anybody could have predicted that. But it's like, okay, well, where do we go from here? And then I found out, as you said, we're having another eliminator match. It's been eliminator after eliminator after eliminator, right? She beat Miyu a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Then she beat Lady Frost.
Yep.
On Collision.
Queen Aminata.
I forgot about that. That's right. Queen Aminata.
Yep.
A 4-way last week.
Yep.
Another 4-way this week.
Bro, don't you get a sense that Toni is basically throwing all these women at Toni Storm, and then Mercedes is 25-0. She's already beaten most of the division, and that they're going to come to blows at All In. Don't you think that they're headed for a collision course, man? They're both swallowing up the entire division.
I mean, they've teased it. They want you to think that. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Maybe it's to throw you off the scent.
We're getting a double main event, bro, at All In. That's what we're getting. They may even main event the show.
Yeah, but you got Omega and Okada are probably going to do
Triple
champion against champion, title for title.
Triple main
would
event.
you not consider that to be a main event match?
I don't know.
How about a quadruple main event? What if we have a Copeland Christian reunion against FTR? Is that not worthy of?
Let's do it. Let's fly Alter Bridge in to sing him to the ring, too.
Well, I don't know, but at some point with all these eliminators, somebody other than the champion you would think has to win. So maybe this will be the week. So you said it's Mina, and who are the other ones again?
Mina, Sky Blue, and whoever you mentioned before, AZM. Is that her name? Yeah,
Can't say AZM.
Okay, I don't know, bro.
You're
I don't
get
watch.
People very upset if you say AZM.
They're already upset with me the first time I said it. What is it again? Azumi?
Azumi.
Okay.
Yeah. Who actually, she and Mercedes had quite the great match at the end of last year. So she's very good. Obviously, it's one of these situations where you don't see her on AEW television, and then one day she's just there. So maybe we'll get a quick video package before the match, but somebody's got to win at some point. Maybe this is the week. I guess out of all the names you mentioned, Mina would probably be the one that would make the most sense, but she's just going to lose anyway. So
yeah. So what point does it make?
Maybe Mariah will cost her the match, and then we get Mariah and Mina.
You just want to see Mariah on television, which I don't blame you.
I miss her. It's been
I know.
too long. We haven't seen her since the Hollywood ending match of Revolution. So we're going on 2.5 months.
Well, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Dynamite tomorrow is looking like this. Outside that eliminator match with Tony, Jon Moxley defends the AEW Championship in a steel cage match against Samoa Joe, which I'm assuming we'll see Hook return. That's where we'll see him and whatever's going on with him and the Ops. I heard a rumor that Jungle Boy may be there tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see about that. We got a tag team match, which I'm looking forward to. We got Can They Coexist? Adam Page and Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander. I know you saw he lifted your Sound Off logo for a new T-shirt, didn't he?
I don't want to say he lifted my Sound Off logo, but I had multiple people message me and say, "Hey, this looks awfully familiar." I said,
Yeah,
it does. Yes.
You sent a cease and desist to Jacksonville yet? No.
No comment.
Not yet. Okay. And then Ricochet. I don't know where this came from. One-on-one with Zach Gowen.
Did you see what? Okay, so did you see what happened on Collision?
I don't know why it happened, but I seen it.
I don't know why it happened either. I guess just to put more heat on him. But he walked off with Zach Gowen's leg, his prosthetic, the second prosthetic leg spot in the last few weeks now that we have had on TV. So is the match basically for Zach to try to get his leg back? I mean, is Ricochet still in possession of the leg?
I would believe so, yeah. He walked off with it, didn't he?
I believe he did. And from what I saw, I thought he walked off with it. So
was Tony Khan on a SmackDown binger from 20 years ago? What happened?
2003? Maybe he was watching some Ruthless Aggression era SmackDowns. He's like, hey, he called Zach Gowen, find out what he's doing. I don't know, but I mean, Ricochet, I guess it got heat on Ricochet, so.
I mean, are they that clueless with Ricochet that they don't know what to do with him? That they got this here?
It felt like they were going into something with him and Kevin Knight. Kevin Knight now, I think, is in Japan doing the best of the Super Juniors. So Ricochet is back to really having no clear direction.
You got Mike Bailey.
You do. But he's busy having these all-star tag matches every week. He's usually in these last 2 weeks. He's been in these all-star tag team matches.
Well, maybe he'll wrestle
and
for $200,000 next week.
Well, I was going to say, and then before that, or no, I guess it was the first one, right? Was the first one where they had the money, or was that a different match?
That was the $400,000 match, yeah.
But there was like an 8-man all-star tag match I think he was in. But that wasn't for the money.
No, that wasn't for the money, no.
Yeah. So before that, he was wrestling for the 400. So he won, right? So he's $100,000 richer.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what he did with that money, but yeah, I mean, I don't fucking know, dude. Like, you're asking me. Jesus. I mean,
is he going to beat his car on Wednesday?
Yeah. You better say that in the backstage promo, too. He should cut a promo on Zach Gowen and say, I'm going to beat your ass, and then come out with the leg over his shoulder.
Listen, that would be more entertaining than anything he's done in 6 months, man, if he did that.
My God.
So that's Dynamite tomorrow. Listen, beach break. I don't know what fucking Schomburg has to do with beaches, but that's what's happening tomorrow. Hopefully they have a good show. Chicago. They have another residency coming to Chicago. You see that? Is that...
I did, yes.
We talked about the ECW arena, which is great for the end of the fall going into... or the end of the summer going into the fall. What do you make of the residency this summer in Chicago? Is it a little bit too much?
No, I think the residencies are actually a very smart idea. Now, are they going to burn out Chicago? They're in Chicago tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are they going to burn out Chicago? Yeah, I mean, it's always a risk, when you run one place for so many shows. But the idea of them doing more of these residencies, they did one last year in Arlington. They announced a couple weeks ago, they announced the one in Philadelphia, which I think is late August, early September. And this one is what, late July?
This is late July, yeah.
Okay. I think the idea of doing more residencies like this and striking those types of deals is a smart move on their part. And from what I saw from the photos, it's an interesting venue. Did you see the photos of the venue?
I did. It looks nice.
Yeah.
5,000 seats, I think, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that they're going to get 5,000 people in those seats, but it's an interesting, unique looking venue and an intimate venue. Not as intimate as some of the other ones they've run, but no, I like it. I think it's a good idea. And they should do more of them, especially if they can get some financial benefit out of it.
I hope so. Hopefully the crowd is energetic and Chicago shows up to enjoy some pro wrestling. But that was the latest there on AEW. Bobby Lashley's answer will finally come towards MJF tomorrow on whether he's in or out of the Hurt Business. I don't know how you felt about this on Wednesday, Jesse. Jesse, I was talking about this with Jason.
We look so much alike.
I know, it's crazy.
I can understand how you would make that mistake.
That's crazy. Jesse and I were talking about this on Wednesday last week, and I think both of us are in the boat of, we need an answer for this, and it's just dragging on a little bit too long. And I said last week to him that I do think, being that Cedric wrestled on Friday for his first independent show at House of Glory in Chicago on Friday, that he's now free and able to do whatever he wants. I do think that he shows up tomorrow during beach break. I do think that they all give him a thumbs up, and then Cedric joins the group. He gives a thumbs down, and then MJF is shit out of luck. I don't know what you make of this, Jason, but what do you feel is going to happen tomorrow?
When the match was over on Friday, Cedric had a great match with Mike Santana. And when the match was over and he went to go address the audience, the crowd in Chicago at Logan Square Auditorium started chanting, "We hurt people." And he smirked. He didn't say anything, but he smirked. And then he went on with his promo. So, yeah, I said as much last week in my Dynamite review. I think we are going to get the AEW debut of Cedric Alexander. He's the only missing ingredient from the original Hurt Business.
Yeah.
And now he just so happens to be available. I really don't see any reason why he wouldn't be added. I'm sure that they would like for him to be in the group. And they probably went to bat for him with Tony Khan. So I think it works out in a very similar way where they lead MJF to believe that, Bobby is going to say yes, and maybe he does say yes, and MJF thinks it's for him, but it's not really for him. It's for someone else. And then we get the arrival of Cedric Alexander. And at that point, once MJF gets cut out of things, that's where it becomes a situation where I can envision an FTR match with the Hurt Syndicate, maybe a Double or Nothing, put those tag titles on the line, and have MJF screw them over. And that's how you get the belts off of them, because they've been so dominant.
Yeah.
It's like, well, who are they going to lose to? And how are they going to lose these titles? Well, there you go. If MJF is given a reason to, basically say, fuck you, you don't get to embarrass me and have the last word here, he can cost them the titles. And you get the titles off of them, and FTR can, go on and do what they're going to do. And then I don't know. I mean, are we looking at MJF and Bobby Lashley in a singles match maybe in Texas?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
And then FTR defends those titles against Cope and Christian.
Once they figure out a way to get them back together,
Yes.
I mean, it's only 2 months away. So what are they going to do story-wise to get those two guys back together? That's what I'm interested to find out.
I don't know. People are going to want to cheer Christian when Mr. Nick Wayne turns on his father. I don't know. So we'll figure that out. But
they've been doing a better job of building Christian against Nick Wayne up as a potential match than anything with Christian and Copeland.
That may actually be taking place at Double or Nothing. We're not sure yet. So they've only announced 2 matches for Double or Nothing. I mean, it's 2 weeks away. So you figure they would have more matches ready to go. But
yeah, they gotta get on that. I mean, literally the only matches we know of, we assume there will be an Anarchy in the Arena match, because I think they've done one every year for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But it really is just the 2 Owen matches, which are quite great. It's Mercedes against Jamie Hayter, and then Will Ospreay against Hangman Page, which is going to be awesome. But that's it. That's all we have.
If there was no Owen, there'd be no Double or Nothing matches.
There would be nothing announced. Yes, there would be nothing announced yet for what had been at one time. I don't know if I would say it still is, but at one time their tentpole event. And you would think that they would be making a bigger deal out of what's on the card and loading up the card. But whatever. As long as they start announcing stuff tomorrow, then it's fine. And then I'm sure there'll be a big push in the last week or so for the rest of the card. Like, if we try to game out what this, like, even just teasing stuff, there's a lot of stuff that just isn't obvious. Like, sometimes we're in this situation where nothing is announced, but we could tell, like, okay, we're going to obviously get this and we're going to get that. What are we looking at here? Because Moxley is not losing the title tomorrow. My assumption is that the reason we're getting this title match tomorrow and not at Double or Nothing is because both of them will be involved in Anarchy in the Arena. That's how I feel. I don't know if you agree with that.
I agree.
So you'll have the Ops and a couple of other baby faces on one
Swerve.
side, the Bucks and the Death Riders on the other. And that's a lot of bodies in one match. So you have that, you have the Owen matches. What else have they been teasing? Let's say Mina wins tomorrow night. They do Mina and Tony for the women's title, right? That could be the women's title match.
That's 4 matches.
I don't know what's Ricochet going to
FTR versus Hurt Syndicate.
Hurt Syndicate, right? We'll see. We'll see if they hint towards that tomorrow. Ricochet right now has no direction, but maybe there'll be a Ricochet match of some kind.
Should be Kevin Knight, but I don't know when the Super Juniors are supposed to be over.
Yeah, I don't know when he's going to be back, so that's the only thing. And same thing with Nick Wayne, because Nick Wayne's also over there in the Super Juniors.
Him and Christian could also be on the card too. So that's what, 7 matches?
About maybe 6.
Okay,
right. If we're right about all these matches, which we may not be, so that's 6. But it's an AEW pay-per-view, so that's probably
that was my next thing. The fact that they've only announced 2 matches. I mean, if we get a 5-hour show with this fucking show and they put nothing into it at this point, I mean, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, we're at 6, and that's probably only half of what
That's all they really need.
Yeah, I agree. But it's Tony Khan. So I mean, do you honestly think he's only gonna have 6 matches at Double or Nothing?
No, he's thinking 12.
at least. If you include pre-show, probably 13 or 14. I agree, but like that's just their mentality. We have to load it up as much as possible because we're known for our great pay-per-views, and so we have to have a banger show and we have to have as many matches as possible. I disagree with that thought process, and some of these shows it's torturous sometimes. Not that the action is bad, but there is such a thing as too much. So I would love it if we had like even 8, like cap the number at 8 matches. What's wrong with an 8-match card?
Yeah, it'll go 5 hours.
Probably, but still.
Fucking Mina and Antonio Russell for fucking 35 minutes.
Fucking 45-minute Iron Woman match. Yeah. Oh, man.
So, yeah, that's Dynamite tomorrow. Hopefully we got a little bit more clarity on what's going to happen at Double or Nothing. We're trying to flesh out the card here, but we don't really know until we get confirmation tomorrow, hopefully, on Dynamite. Keeping with the AEW theme, and it's in the title of the thumbnail tonight, apparently, this is just a rumor and speculation, but people are talking about it, and there are some solid leads that this could realistically happen. Now, All In is taking place July 12th. Globe Life Field, Arlington, Texas, and it's the biggest show that AEW is putting on all year. Okay, it's going to be a loaded show. And Tony Khan had the show slated for that Saturday. I'm assuming it would have started at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Time got changed from 8 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern. WWE, however, which way you want to believe it, is it NBC, Universal, is it WWE? Saturday night's main event is taking place on July 12th. And that's happening at 8 p.m. on NBC, Peacock. So WWE is now stepping onto AEW's turf on All In Saturday. So the rumor is now that WWE is potentially set to give us an Evolution 2. And it appears that Fanatics may have given away the show as well as its location. According to a listing posted on LinkedIn on May 9th, Fanatics is looking to hire what's described as a retail event associate for the WWE event listed as Evolution in Atlanta, Georgia. This comes after reports that WWE was planning to host Evolution in Atlanta on July 12th, despite initial rumors saying the show would be July 5th in Connecticut. During a recent Fightful Select Q&A, Sean Ross Sapp shared that talent had been kept in the dark about the show, raising questions about the fate of WWE's second all-women event. He says, Evolution, it's something I've been following up on a lot. Talent that I have talked to don't know about it. Charlotte Flair, who played a major role in the first Evolution event, told Denise Salcedo that she hopes Evolution 2 happens, but admitted that I don't really know about any plans. Now, while July 12th and Atlanta are likely to be the date to host Evolution 2, nothing is confirmed until WWE says so, and time will tell when this long-awaited women's event does take place. So, Jason, if what we just read here happens, Evolution, now I'm not even talking about Evolution. We have Saturday night's main event, All In, and then Evolution, I'm assuming, would be going head-to-head with All In at 3 o'clock. And WWE's going to do one of those things where it's 3 to 6 or 4 to 7, and then it bleeds right into their nighttime show, which we're seeing with the Worlds Collide show leading into Money in the Bank. What do you make of this, and how fucking ridiculous is this for WWE to just purposely, obviously, because July 5th was the date. Now they're thinking about July 12th, and if this is true with Fanatics, I mean, not only is it fucking petty, man, I'm looking out for us. Like, how the fuck are we supposed to cover 3 different shows with both of them happening at the same time and one happening while we're probably going to be live talking about All In, man? What is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing it's just completely ridiculous. I mean, it's very transparent what's going on here. You'd have to be an idiot not to see what's going on here. Now, we don't know that the Evolution show is necessarily going to be on July 12th. It's possible that it could be that weekend, but on the 13th, because I don't think there's been a date confirmed.
Yes.
Only that Fanatics put the listing out for Evolution in Atlanta, and then the rumors were the weekend of July 12th. So even if it was that Sunday, though, it's still very transparent because they're still trampling on AEW. It's clearly being done on purpose. And I actually think it's kind of shitty for the women because it's almost as if this show is now being used just as a pawn in this petty back and forth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like if the show were to not do well for some reason, that's kind of shitty for the women You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't be their fault necessarily. So I just think it's a shitty thing to do when you can pick any other weekend you want to, but you opt to do it that weekend for reasons that are very, very obvious. And yes, for us, it's a pain in the ass. But even if you weren't a content creator and covering all the different shows, like if you watch the different products, like now you have to choose. And so that's pretty shitty. So I think it sucks. I was kind of hoping it would be that weekend before the weekend of July 5th. That would have been certainly more convenient for us. And now they're talking about the 12th, which is just going to turn that entire weekend into just like one giant shit show, if not that one day into a giant shit show. And we're just waiting for confirmation. I feel like we've been hearing about this Evolution show now for a few months, and WWE still hasn't confirmed it, but it sounds like we're very close to getting confirmation of that show. But that's what it is. I mean, they're doing it to fuck with AEW. They've done this before. They can deny it. People can deny it and say, oh, it's just a coincidence. Or, oh, WWE's allowed to run holiday weekends too because maybe it's just good for business. Sure, they could do whatever they want to. But the reality is we've seen this before, and it was clear as day then. And it's even more clear now, if this happens, why this is being done. And so for all the people out there who still insist, well, AEW is not competition for WWE, and WWE doesn't even think about AEW. They don't pay any attention to AEW the way Tony pays attention to WWE. You're full of shit. And this is another example in a long line of examples. And I think they get off on it, honestly. They do. They enjoy it. I think Nick Khan and Triple H, they get off on this.
And the thing is, AEW have kind of scaled back on announcing their pay-per-views. This was a report like several months ago. They were not going to outwardly just tell everybody when their pay-per-views are and the dates for those pay-per-view because they wanted to see if WWE would strike first and announce their shows first, and then Tony would follow suit and just do it away from what WWE's doing. But WWE is just completely out of hand. And like Jason said, I mean, this is not going to be the only time. It hasn't been the only time. They're doing it in 2 weeks in Tampa. SmackDown, Battleground, Saturday Night's Main Event, and Raw all taking place in Tampa Bay, Florida. So, and that's Double or Nothing weekend, Memorial Day weekend. So, I don't know, man. How much wrestling can we watch?
Yeah. I mean, it's just overkill. It's completely, and it'll probably happen again later this year, probably in the fall, and it will continue to happen. Yeah, it wasn't even a report from months ago. It was a report from maybe a month or two ago. And Tony hadn't announced anything, I think, beyond... I mean, had he even announced the date yet for Double or Nothing? I don't even think he had announced it yet. But he was keeping it very close to the vest.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if, July 5th was the date they were looking at. Because I saw something about how, well, there was a conflict with the building WWE was going to run in Connecticut for July 5th. Bullshit. They made this decision for very clear reasons. And I wouldn't be shocked if it is on the 12th and not even the 13th. They'll probably do it that day. And like you said, look at Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. They're doing Worlds Collide June 7th in LA at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it leads directly into Money in the Bank at 7 p.m. that night. Mm-hmm. So we may be looking at the exact same thing here. But I do think that there will be a split in the audience because this is the biggest AEW show of the year. Like quite literally, they're going to be in a stadium. I don't know how many people they'll have, but maybe around 20,000 people. They could probably get that number up around there, and it's going to be their big show of the year.
I think they're about 15 now.
They'll get to 20.
Yeah, I could say that. I'd say probably as soon as they start announcing matches, I think they get to 25.
Yeah, I mean, once they announce a card, I mean, that'll go up. So they'll be in the 20 to 25 range, but so there will be, because it is their biggest show of the year and they'll have some big matches on there. There are people that are going to have to make a choice, and they'll make the choice to watch AEW instead of WWE, and they'll do so at the expense of the women's show. So you're going to have people who maybe would like to watch Evolution, but if you're forcing them to make a choice between Evolution 2 or Kenny Omega against Okada or Will Ospreay against Moxley or Mercedes against Tony Storm, they're probably going to go with the AEW show, right? Unless they're just a huge WWE fan. And it sucks that you have to make that choice when you can literally book that show any other weekend. Like, we have not had an Evolution PLE since 2018. Okay, dude, it's been a long time. And of all the weekends to do this, to do it that weekend.
Well, hopefully you're correct and they do it on the 13th and not the 12th.
The 13th would be better.
Yeah.
But even if they do it on the 13th, I'm saying, like, it's another invasion of the entire weekend where they're trying to drown out, what AEW is doing. So the same point still applies. It's being done intentionally. The 13th would be logistically better, though.
I know which one I'm covering on Saturday. Even if it does happen on Saturday, I'm covering All In, so it's not going to bother.
Yeah.
It's not going to sway my decision.
No. I mean, All In is hopefully going to be the culmination and the climax of all this Death Rider shit.
We have to be there to watch Moxley fall, right? It's like,
what if he doesn't?
I'm going to blame you, motherfucker, because you put it out there in the universe, and I seen Ibu fucking say something this week on Twitter, and he said, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony saves Moxley in his title reign for Seattle and has Darby beat him at WrestleDream. I'm like, you motherfucker. Where are you getting your information from, bro?
I'm telling you, man, what if he wins?
No.
Can you imagine?
No. Why would you say that?
Well, because he won the title at WrestleDream. It'll be a year. And Darby, I think they do want to put the title on Darby. There's also the Bryan Danielson element. Maybe he'll be involved in that in some way, or, help Darby win. And if they wanted to save it for like that particular moment and do the show, like you said, in Seattle or someplace like that, then you know what? Because I think he should have lost the Swerve in Philadelphia, and he didn't. So I put nothing past them.
Man, how much of their audience is still going to be around come October, man? Holy shit.
That's the question.
Listen, I have, just to go back to this all-in weekend where WWE is just kind of invading AEW space. I was told from a good buddy of mine that's in the know that he would not be surprised that WWE does one of 3 matches on that Saturday night's main event just to add a little fucking fuck you to Tony Khan. He said that he would not be surprised if WWE does one of these 3 matches. Cena, Cody 2, Cena versus Roman Reigns, or Cena versus CM Punk at Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, I would be disappointed if they did Cena and Punk.
Me too.
On a non-PLE show.
Yeah.
Or any show with commercials. I would find that disappointing. Because to me, Cena and Punk, look, if the idea is to do Cena, Cody, and switch the belt to Cody, then you do that at SummerSlam. If that's not the plan, then to me, the only match for Cena that I would want to see at SummerSlam is Cena against CM Punk.
Yeah.
It's a 2-night event in a stadium. You need the biggest possible match. Cena Roman. I'm not saying Cena Roman wouldn't be a big match. I don't want to see that match. I don't see what's gained by doing that match. I don't really have any interest in seeing that before I see CM Punk and John Cena. So I would do Punk and Cena on that show. I hope it happens on that show. Saturday night's main event, though, they're going to want to have a big match that night. I'm sure Cena will. See, he hasn't been announced, I don't think, yet for that card. He's been announced for the next one coming up on the 24th. But on that one, yeah, I mean, if not him and Punk, him and Cody is even less likely to me, though. I mean, to do that on Saturday nights, well, I mean, I guess
I don't want to see any of those matches on Saturday night's main event.
No. But then what do you do? If you want Cena on that show, which I would if I were them, if not those people, then who else is there? Who would you put him in the ring with? They've already done Orton. They're probably going to do Truth on this next one. Who does that leave?
Styles?
Well, he's a Raw guy, if that matters.
Yeah.
Now, there might be a draft between now and then. So
we'll get to that. I got that here in a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we could have a roster shakeup between now and then. McIntyre's a heel. Not that I wouldn't like to see that match, but as long as they're both heels, it just doesn't make any sense.
LA Knight?
Yeah. I didn't just say that on purpose. By the way. But yeah, I could see that as a possibility.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I was told, just in a just a little back and forth discussion. He wouldn't be surprised to see that. But again, that's what's happening. Again, nothing is confirmed. July 12th in Atlanta is the rumor. Hopefully, it does for the sake of us, just selfishly, July 13th, because I mean, all those shows on one day is just completely ridiculous. But that's the way WWE operates. That's what they do. I got 2 other WWE news stories, and then we'll get into some Backlash and some Monday Night Raw discussion here.
Before you do that,
yeah,
I'm going to interject.
Sure.
It's more of a question. I saw this on social media, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So I figure let's bring it up on the show and get your feedback to it.
Okay.
So I saw it was a tweet from earlier, and it had a graphic listed delete one's work from wrestling history. And it had a whole bunch of WWE, WWF names from over the years. So you have to delete one. Which one would you delete? And this is the list: The Undertaker, Roman Reigns, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, and CM Punk. You have to delete one. Now I'll tell you who I picked, and then you could chime in.
Okay.
I would delete Randy Orton from that list. And I would delete Randy Orton in part because I feel like of all the people on that list, well, and again, I like Randy Orton, but of all the people on that list, I feel like he's the least significant. And where if you were to delete him, it doesn't really change the trajectory of anything. I cannot look at those other names in good conscience and get rid of them before I get rid of Randy Orton.
I'll tell you who I'm not getting rid of: Undertaker, Hogan, Stone Cold, Rock, Shawn, Cena, Bret, Punk, Lesnar, Triple H. I'm probably going to go with you, Randy Orton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of all the names there, he, like you said, least significant is a good way to put it. I just, nothing jumps off the page to me as like, memorable moments that I'm going to go back and relive in the annals of WWE history containing Randy Orton. That's the thing I'm thinking about. I can't think of one right now.
Yeah. I mean, again, Randy Orton, look, I mean, his resume is very impressive, and he's got 14 world titles, and he's had some great matches, and that's all well and good. But when you're talking about names like Austin and Hogan and Undertaker and Shawn and Bret and even Cena, I mean, Cena was the face of the company for so long and so important, to the company. I honestly, I came down to two names, actually.
Well, that was my question to you. Who would be a second place for you?
I personally,
yeah,
I would go with Triple H.
I was going to go Lesnar.
I could do without Triple H. I know, obviously, now he's an important part of the company, but yeah, I would get rid of him.
I don't know why people in the chat are saying L take solo. I mean, it's this guy's fucking opinion, man. What's an L take? Everybody's gonna have it. I mean,
well, they'll say that, but they won't explain why it's an L take. They'll just be, oh, it's an L take.
Like, why would you get rid of Hulk Hogan though? Without Hogan, where the fuck are we? We don't get half of the fucking names on this list without Hulk Hogan. What are you talking about?
Right, this list probably doesn't exist if you remove Hogan. Like, and I shit on Hogan every week for all the dumb shit that he says. I mean, you can't say I'm like a Hogan dick rider here, and even I'm not dumb enough to sit here and say, well, you got to get Hogan off the list. Yeah, you recognize the importance that he had to this company. So, yes, I would keep Hogan on there and all the other names. But Orton would be my pick. And if I had to have a second pick, it would be Triple H. And if you want to make a top three, then, yeah, Lesnar would be... I'd probably have Lesnar at number 3.
All right, yeah, I'm going to go Lesnar. Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. Yeah, that's a nice discussion. Whoever started that tweet on Twitter, good job.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought it was interesting. And there were a lot of people also who picked The Rock.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. There were a lot of people who picked The Rock, which I can kind of understand.
Yeah, but a lot of our childhood memories, though, don't exist without The Rock. It's like he's like a walking meme for like the rest of our eternity over here.
He is. But maybe, I mean, if you're just looking at it in terms of historical significance to the company, I feel, and he was a very important part of the company, especially when Austin got hurt. Really, it was him and Triple H that kind of carried the day there for a while. But I can understand that maybe it was, the Attitude Era really was, it was really about Austin. Like, Austin was the face of that era. And you can't take Austin away.
Well, if you don't have The Rock, who feuds with Austin?
Somebody else. Triple H. Undertaker. No, I didn't pick The Rock. I'm saying I could kind of understand maybe where some of them are coming from, but I still couldn't bring myself to pick The Rock, though. I still feel like he's significant enough where you wouldn't want to get rid of him. And he was very entertaining and a very big part of that era, especially when Austin was hurt. So I would hate to lose him. But yeah, Orton, just when I thought about it, it's like, he was never the face. And then he kind of got phased down a little bit. But even when he was on top, like, there were periods of Randy Orton that I thought were just boring. You know, I mean, you had Bald Menace Randy Orton from 2009, 2010, where he went on that run there where, I mean, he was doing great stuff, but I was like, you know what? I think if I imagine my WWE fandom without Randy Orton, I think I'd be okay.
Me too.
I don't think it would really change it significantly.
I agree. Anybody that says Brett, you're out of your fucking mind. Fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
well, you could just leave. you could just leave.
We got a couple other WWE stories here. This one was actually, it's not new, but it was talked about again today via TKO COO Mark Shapiro. He says WWE will continue to prune as it relates to house shows, believes there is tremendous upside on ticket pricing. And recent...
What is he doing? Is he a gardener? We're going to continue to prune.
WWE has cut down on house shows now labeled as live events, which has its positives and negatives in terms of scheduling and training. Speaking at the JP Morgan Annual Global Technology, Media and Communications Conference, Mark Shapiro, TKO COO, commented on WWE reducing house shows and pricing for events. He says, we cut those house shows down to where we're now doing 200 events a year. We cut them 75%, the number of house shows that we do. We feel that's a good place to be, and we'll continue to prune as we go through. WWE has tremendous upside on global partnerships. Tremendous upside. That's the word he used. Tremendous upside on ticket pricing. Tremendous upside on site fees, which I'll get into in a little bit, being that SummerSlam is raking in a cool $7 million for a fucking site fee. Dynamic pricing, yield management, all areas we're really focusing and pushing in on as it's related to live events. As you saw in our first quarter, our margins significantly expanded as it relates to WWE live events, said Shapiro. WWE has no scheduled house shows until August. That is ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Jason, I was thinking about this, man. You know, just for the talent's sake and the sheer bloated roster that WWE has, you know, and some of the talent that's not finding their way to TV, those house shows were a means to get the reps in. And we talked about this several months ago. Get the reps in, do stuff that necessarily is like kind of hit or miss on TV to see if it works in front of a live audience, but not on TV yet to see if that kind of gets over with the audience. Just the sheer number of talent getting the reps in is what I'm really focusing on. The PC and NXT and all the training that they do at the Performance Center is not enough. So I feel like if there's just a decrease in more house shows and more live events, I don't know how that's really going to benefit the roster. And they're really asking for trouble, honestly, as this goes on. I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't like it at all.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like AEW doesn't have house shows at all, and they also have a gigantic roster. Difference is, you know, people can still work shows outside of WWE. It's not like they're just not working any shows.
Yeah.
WWE was always, and that was actually one of the things that was most appealing to a lot of wrestlers about AEW in the early going, is that WWE schedule has in the past been quite ridiculous, and it was very appealing. Like, hey, we don't have that schedule over here. And so when they made the announcement that they were going to be scaling back on house shows, I thought, okay, I think that's a good thing, right? That they're not going to be on the road, 300 days a year or anything like that. But also you want to have that balance where you have enough of them, because I've heard wrestlers also say that that's where they have the most fun. They don't have to be, they can kind of let their guard down a little bit. They're not on TV. They can have fun, do funny things, try new moves, try new spots. If it doesn't work, we don't have to do it again. And like you said, you also have people who just need the experience of just working on those live events. We heard about Jade Cargill when she was gone, being at the Performance Center and training at the Performance Center. But it probably would have also benefited her to be doing live events, even if they were NXT live events, but just working in front of a crowd of people. And she, instead of just being at the Performance Center and working in front of coaches and other wrestlers. So there has to be a balance. And I think it's good that their schedule is not nearly as ridiculous as it used to be. I mean, dude, like over the years, like you would look at their schedule, especially when you throw the international tours in there where they could be on the road in a different city for like 2 weeks in a row every night. And it was almost like inhumane. And you could take it back even further to like when we grew up as wrestling fans, and the schedule Vince had them working back then, like in the 80s and the early 90s. Dude, it was insane. It's like no wonder they all turned to fucking alcohol and drugs if they weren't already doing it. So the fact that there's no house shows until you said August, right?
August, yeah.
That's, I mean, that there's too many house shows and then not enough house shows. And yeah, that's crazy.
What it makes me think too is that if they decrease even more, is the likelihood that ticket prices raise
Yes.
even more so just to offset the fact that they're doing less live events now than they were last year?
I'm sure that's part of the play here, which is that the less you give people of the product, maybe in their eyes, the more premium those tickets to all the other shows become. It's hard to imagine that they're going to raise prices even more than they already have, but that's what I get out of what Shapiro was saying, where it's like, it's, you know, what we're doing now is we're in a good spot and we're going to continue to do what we're doing as far as ticket pricing. So anybody thinking like ticket prices might go down soon, like, you're in for a rude awakening, because it doesn't sound like that's going to happen, you know, anytime soon. And what I fear, and I don't want to say the last night was like an example of this because it was one night. They were in Louisville last night. I've had people who were at the show tell me, "Oh, you're wrong. We were loud." I thought the crowd was dead last night.
Crowd was fucking awful.
I mean, they were just dead. Now, to be fair,
after Punk, it fell off. I'll give them that.
It wasn't the most exciting show in the world, but like, I'm watching AJ and Finn Balor out there, and the crowd is just ice cold. And I'm watching the main event, which I enjoyed, the women's tag team match. Maybe it came across differently in the venue, but watching it on TV, they were fucking dead.
Yeah.
And my fear is that, you know, if they price people out, like loyal WWE fans who want to go to the shows and bring signs and cheer for their favorites and boo the people they hate and really be rabid, like, if you price those people out, what do you end up with? You end up with people who can afford to pay the prices they're charging for those tickets, but like, what kind of fans are those? And are those fans going to be as vocal at the shows, or are they going to be sitting on their hands?
That is a very good point. I didn't even think of that.
Is it going to change the way that these crowds react week to week? I mean, I'm sure for the PLEs or the international shows, you know, they're going to be loud and they're going to be crazy. But like the week to week Raw, the week to week SmackDown, might we start to see a change in these crowds where they're just not as rowdy or vocal and loud as they used to be because you've priced all these people out that would normally pay tickets to come to a show?
You know, you mentioned that they may be lessening the house shows to make them a little bit more desirable for people to want to go out there. If there's less of them, you don't want to miss it. I can understand that aspect, but if they go that route, man, they got to make these shows worthwhile to watch and come to. They got to be loading these shows up. I mean, to me, Backlash was so enjoyable that a sixth match wouldn't have fucking killed them. You know, and it was a very good show, but they're going to have to do more to keep our interest, man, and give us a little bit more bang for our buck if that's the case. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, on that show, I think the reason they did that, there was a UFC pay-per-view that night, and I think they wanted to make sure that show was over before 10 p.m. Okay. So I think that was the key there. But Triple H, I mean, generally speaking, will do 5 matches. I mean, he has done 6 on occasion, but I think that's the reason why they wanted to keep it tight on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the last time we got 6 was at one of the Saudi shows when we got Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, but it didn't end up being a match. It was like an angle.
And there's no issue with doing a 6 match. Like even some of those old NXT takeover shows he used to book would sometimes have 6, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But that's my fear. You know, the more we hear about these ticket prices and people saying, "Man, I wish I was going to go, but like I saw the prices and was going to take my kids, and I can't afford that. I'm not going to go to these shows." It could change, you know, the types of audiences that we see at these shows, and I don't know that that's a good thing. You know, either because it's just a different type of fan who's not there to just kind of cheer and go crazy, or maybe they're just not as hardcore, loyal, diehard fans as some of these other people would be, you know, who are being priced out. I don't think TKO gives a shit, because as long as people spend money on those tickets, that's all they care about. But that's my fear. You know, the more we see that, is that going to start to happen? I
hope not. I really, that last night's show was like coming off a hot Backlash show to have that energy there on Monday. I don't know what the fuck that was last night, but
it just felt like a funeral at times.
It was not good, but yeah, that is the news there. WWE lessening even furthermore the house shows this year. WWE Draft. We've talked about this potentially happening. We don't really have a solid time frame, but Brian Alvarez spoke on Wrestling Observer Radio. He noted that he has heard A WWE Draft could take place later this month. WWE will be in Tampa, Florida for a Memorial Day weekend takeover, including Saturday night's main event, Battleground, Raw, NXT, all at the Yuengling Center. For whatever reason, he said, Julia and Roxanne are still considered NXT talents. Roxanne has been a regular on the main roster since the Royal Rumble, so she should be petitioning for main roster back pay. She's been on the main roster so often. But I was told it's not set in stone, but very likely at the end of the month, when they're doing that series of dates in Tampa, it's very likely there may be a draft that weekend or that week, which would probably mean that some people are being called up. And by the grace of God, he says it should be Roxanne and Julia. Honestly, probably Stephanie Vaquer, Kalani Jordan, but they can't call everybody up at once. But there's a reason that a lot of women were cut in the last few weeks, and that is because they are making room on the roster for a lot of other women to get called up.
You'll notice he's mentioning all the women and not saying anything about the men because it just shows you the state of the two divisions right now on that show.
Yeah, the men's division on NXT is still just a complete shit show. But I think we need a shakeup of sorts. I don't know where that comes. I could give you a couple of names off the top of my head. You know, from one show to the other. I think LA Knight being moved over to Monday Night Raw could benefit him. Same thing with Carmelo Hayes. But you and I have talked about this, Jason. I know you talked about it on your own. I've talked about it on my own. I mean, what do they do differently this year that they haven't done in years prior? Are they going to make it a little bit more must-see? Are they going to make it a little bit more special? What are they going to do differently? I mean, I'm just afraid, like we made fun of last week. It's like Shinsuke Nakamura's on SmackDown. He gets drafted in the third round, third pick, goes to SmackDown.
Dude, you got to bring back the Fox robot and let the robot do a dance. When Tozawa and Otis get moved to SmackDown and the robot can do a special dance, it's just I don't know what they could do, honestly. The draft shows are so fucking boring.
More excuses to have Raw wrestle SmackDown and SmackDown wrestle Raw and just disregard the brand rules. It's like,
I mean, they do that anyways. I mean, what do you need a draft show to do that for? We had the transfer window late last year into the beginning of this year. This is right around the time where I would do another or be getting ready. Not like right now, but like in the next month or two. Open up the transfer window and keep it open for at least a month. How long was the last transfer window? It felt like 2 months. The transfer window was open. It felt like from
Survivor Series until maybe the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. So why? I don't understand. Like, why can't you just do the same thing? Open up the transfer window the very end of May or sometime early in June and keep it open through a good chunk of the summer, either up to or right after SummerSlam, and give yourself a good window of 6 to 8 weeks where you can figure out, okay, where do we have a need or what do we have a need for on this show? Maybe it's in the tag team division. Maybe it's on the women's side more than the men's. And on this show, it's more on the men's than the women's. And they could figure out what those moves are going to be. And you can have the two general managers, because you have two fucking GMs, let them coordinate and figure out trades and moves. Why do we need a formal draft show? Why does it all have to happen in one night? Why not spread it out and do it that way?
I don't know. I'm just anticipating
Bueller?
the same thing.
Bueller? Hello?
I'm here. I'm thinking about what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know.
That just would make more sense to me. Now, all the new women that we've seen, by the way, are on the Raw side. So we saw Stephanie a couple of times. She was on Raw. Roxanne and Julia have been on Raw. You got to spread that out too. You can't just, if you're going to call up a bunch of new women, they can't just all be on Monday night.
I mean, look at the tag team division between both shows. Look at the SmackDown tag team division. Look at the Raw tag team division.
Oh my God.
It's like non-existent on Monday night.
Dude, last night they set up a triple threat match that's going to be coming up soon with the New Day, the Viking Raiders, and the Creed brothers.
No wonder the fucking crowd was dead.
Yeah, I mean, and compare that to what we have gotten recently in the tag division on SmackDown. You talk about the tale of two cities. Like, that has to be addressed.
And the SmackDown tag team division is, I mean, it's better than Raw, but it's not lighting the world on fire. But look at the quality of teams over there compared to Monday night.
Yeah, and up until the recent TLC match, at least they've been making an attempt to try to create issues between like 3 or 4 key teams. And even that match on SmackDown last week with the Street Profits and Fraxium, right? That was
fucking great.
Really, really good stuff. So there's a lot more life to the tag team division on Fridays than there is on Mondays. I don't know how they address that. I don't know who they call up to try to fix that. Who do they even have on the men's side, tag team wise, right now that they could call up? I mean, they're not going to call up Hank and Tank. I mean, they kind of took over from Fraxium.
Tony D.
Anyway, I don't know how you address that. But I just think the idea of the transfer portal is much better than doing a 1 or 2 night draft, because they just want to do a draft show like the NFL does a draft and the NBA does a draft. We got to do a draft, and we're going to make it feel like a real draft, and maybe they'll get celebrities to come in.
So make it a network special then, and just keep it away from the active shows.
Doesn't matter, dude. If they follow the same format, I don't care if it airs on a streaming platform or on USA. If they follow the same format that they did last year and the last couple of times, it's going to be fucking boring. It makes for boring television.
Jason,
you need to just
Jason can't wait for Zoe Stark to get drafted in the 4th round at the 3rd.
No, I can't wait. No, you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for 85% of the people who are on, let's say, one show to then be drafted to the same fucking show. I can't wait. That's so exciting to me.
Kiana James goes to SmackDown in the 5th round with the 3rd pick. She hasn't been on fucking TV in about 16 months, man. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, guess what? Carmelo Hayes and Dre, his little necklace over there, they're being drafted to SmackDown. What's that? They've been on SmackDown? Well, I mean, hey, now we're really going to do something with him. I mean, come on, give me a break. It's boring. It's just uncreative. You're much better off giving yourself weeks to figure out what moves you want to make, spread them out, and figure out where you want all the pieces to go. That's it.
Only in WWE could you make one draft pick and get a whole fucking faction of Judgment Day going over to the other show. Oh,
yeah. I love that, too, when you have one draft pick with like 5 people in it, because that's so
how is
fair.
that even fair? You know, one team, one brand gets 5 guys, the other brand, one pick.
Yeah, we're going to draft the entire Final Testament. We're going to draft the entire Bloodline. Yeah, that's real fair.
I don't know.
Can I say this too?
Of course.
It's a little off topic, but did you notice last night when Becky when Becky Lynch was coming? No. Oh, God, was it Becky? Maybe it was Becky. Somebody was coming to the ring, and in the background you saw Karrion Kross, and he was handing his T-shirt out to the New Day.
Yes, I saw that.
And I said, I think both of us were kind of hopeful coming out of WrestleMania that this guy had built up at least a little bit of momentum finally in a way that he has never done on the main roster before. And it felt like this was a real opportunity to do something with this, like really do something with this guy. And I'm like, all right, I wonder what they have in mind for him coming out of WrestleMania and the AJ Styles stuff. And then I realized like we hadn't seen him on the show. And the one time we see him on Raw is 3 seconds in the background, and he's handing T-shirts out to the New Day.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, okay, I see. We're just not going to do anything with him.
You know, he's got the #1 selling T-shirt on WWE Shop.
Is that true?
Yes.
Maybe that's why he was handing them out to the New Day.
Yes.
Maybe they're not really selling them. They're just handing them out. That's why it's #1.
Well, supposedly he wrestled on Main Event and got a very good reaction. But you know what?
He wrestled on Main Event a few weeks ago and lost to Dragon Lee.
Well, I don't know who he wrestled last night during the tapings, but you know what's going to be an eye opener if he's not in a Money in the Bank qualifier in the next coming weeks. That'll be eye opening.
Which he should be.
Yes.
But look, if he goes on to win Money in the Bank or something, then hey, I take it all back. But excuse me for not being completely optimistic, given the way that he's been booked before. But I'm like, of all the times, like he actually felt like he had some momentum. That work shoot promo he did coming out of WrestleMania, and I know that documentary that he worked on that came out. He's got a book coming out too, I think, later this year. So like things feel like maybe they're kind of falling in place for him finally. And then I'm like, shit, like he's in the background in a 3-second throwaway nothing segment on the show, and that's kind of it's almost like a great metaphor for how he's been used recently. And I'm like, unless they have some massive idea for him.
Or unless he's giving them notice that he's not coming back, he's not re-upping. I don't know.
Well, if this was Tony Khan, he wouldn't even be on TV.
True.
He'd be riding the bench.
I don't know. They got to do something with. Did you watch the documentary yet?
Not the entire thing.
Okay. What'd you think of what you watched?
It was very good.
Yeah.
It was very good. Which I could say, by the way, for almost anything of his that I have seen social media wise, promos or anything like over the last few years, it's usually really good, but like it's never communicated on television.
No.
And that's why I said like this is the first time where it's like it's almost a case where he's being allowed to be more like himself and not like a cartoon character, like some spooky cartoon character. And I always said, like, if he was ever going to have a chance to really get over on TV, you got to let him be himself. Him and Scarlett both, because we never get to hear from her. And it felt like we were finally heading in that direction. Now I'm not so sure. And I think they're just going to squander an opportunity here if they don't do something with this.
Yeah, I hope they know what they're doing. You know, I think I read somewhere that Shotzi said that Cross edits all of his own stuff and puts it out all on his own. I mean, we kind of knew that he put it out on his own, but I didn't know how much editing he had a hand in, but apparently it's all him.
Yeah. Very, very hands-on. I mean, because, you know, they're not doing anything with him. They're not doing any of that kind of stuff with him. So he's doing it on his own. He's trying to make something happen, trying to get him, you know, his name out there and his face out there as much as he can. But you need that television exposure. And if all you see of this person is every other week they're in a 2-minute backstage segment and their hairstyle is different each time we see them, but it doesn't necessarily lead to anything. It's like the last segment we had with him and AJ. Remember what AJ told him? Because he was still going on about how, you know, you lost to Logan Paul and all that. And he's like, why don't you handle him? And I thought we were going to get a match. I thought we were going to get Logan Paul in a TV match against what would basically be a babyface carrying Cross. And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. Let's see how this, I mean, we know who's going to win, but like, how's this going to, you know, be taken by the crowd? How's the crowd going to react to this? And it went nowhere. Yeah, he was like, oh, maybe I will. And then nothing was said.
And what happened with it with WrestleMania? Then he factor into the match with AJ and Logan, and we haven't seen anything with Cross and AJ.
Well, he was trying to help. He was trying to help AJ win. He was trying to help AJ kind of find the old AJ, the tough side of AJ. And then AJ let him down because he refused to accept his help. And then what happened? AJ lost. So yeah, there was no follow up to that. But like, it felt like we're gonna at least get something with him and Logan, because he was arguing so hard, like this impassioned promo about how Logan Paul is everything that this business shouldn't be about, and he's a YouTuber, and he's coming into our world, and you have to stand up for us. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe he'll, you know, take his own advice, and we'll do something with him and Logan, and then nothing. Logan's doing his thing with Jey Uso, and Karrion Kross is giving T-shirts away like he's one of the Hebners. So I don't know. I don't know where this goes.
Triple H better do something, because if they fumble this and do nothing with it, they're never going to let him down on it. I'll tell you that right now. But Cross also revealed that he's got a podcast coming, which I don't really know how that's going to work, being that, you know, I'm sure everything has to go and get approved by WWE. But Cross did share in a video yesterday that he plans to launch a podcast and has been putting a team together since January. He says, I've been asked to do a podcast for a very long time, probably a few years. I didn't really have a subject matter that I thought would be able to continually do one and it would feel authentic. Now I finally found one, and there will be more information on that. He put in a post on social media. So he's got plans coming up. He's keeping busy. WWE's not keeping him busy, but he's certainly keeping himself busy.
Trey says Cross might interfere in the Logan Paul match. Do you actually think that when Jey Uso wrestles Logan Paul on Saturday night's main event, that Karrion Kross will be involved in that match?
No. Let's keep it to Money in the Bank. Let's get him in the fucking ladder match. Although that's a match that makes, you know, or breaks people. Let's get him in there first. Let's go on to some Backlash and some Raw stuff, and then we'll get to the Super Chats and hopefully get you guys out of here early. Backlash, Jason, I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed myself. I was very sports entertained by the show. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it was just a lot of great pro wrestling, and I enjoyed myself. Fatal 4-Way United States Championship match. Jacob Fatu retained over Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Damian Priest. I said on Friday when I covered this, I think the United States title picture looks better now than it has in years, especially after the reigns of LA Knight, the first one, then Nakamura, and then LA Knight again. It's been a nice chunk of time where the United States Championship has kind of felt largely irrelevant. Now that Jacob Fatu has it and the competition coming after it, McIntyre, Knight, Priest, we got Jeff Cobb now in the picture with Solo Sikoa. I like the mix of talent here for the United States Championship. I thought they killed it. It was exactly what it needed to be. Chaos, a good wrestling match for a fatal 4-way rule. And then we got the debut of Jeff Cobb, which he got a decent reaction in St. Louis. I was actually surprised to see that. I'm interested to see where he goes with Solo Sikoa, as Jacob Fatu is clearly unhappy after mentioning to Solo that he's the plan, and Solo didn't really take too kindly to that message on Friday, so he went out and kind of formulated his own plan in Jeff Cobb. What'd you make of this, and what do you think of the United States title picture?
I think they're cooking right now with the U.S. title picture, especially compared to the the Intercontinental picture on Raw. I like Dom as champion, but there's not as much activity going on there as you see on the U.S. title side. I actually had that Fatal 4-Way match as either the best match on the show or maybe second best to the women's match. Because at first I thought, I was like, yeah, I think the Fatal 4-Way would be my number one.
Yeah.
But Becky and Lyra was an excellent match, though. As far as the Jeff Cobb, he got a better than decent reaction. I mean, he got a really good reaction, which was...
Well, he got a holy shit chant, which was nice.
It was, but like when they showed his face up close because I think initially people couldn't tell who it was. And then the camera got a close-up shot of his face and he got like a big pop, which is saying a lot because he's never been in WWE before. These people would have no reason to know who he is unless they watch wrestling outside of WWE, which enough of them clearly did. So that was encouraging to see. I like the idea of him being part of a group, in this case, the Bloodline, which will never die. No matter what, the Bloodline will always live on. Although I said on my review, I said, they're adding another non-Samoan to the Bloodline, and somewhere,
yes.
You've got Lance Anoa'i, who might not make it, and you've got Hikuleo, and they're just in shambles right now because, what are they doing?
Yes, what Jason is alluding to is Jeff Cobb is not Samoan. He's, what was he, Filipino, Polynesian, right?
Yeah, well, I guess he's an island boy.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're an island boy,
he was born in Guam. He was born in Guam.
Yes, but I don't think he has I don't think he is of Samoan ancestry.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying. But once they added the Tongans, I mean, they pretty much broke the chain. I mean, I know they consider them to be like family, but like that's where the chain was broken. So now you can pretty much add anybody. I guess they had Sami Zayn in the Bloodline, so the chain was broken a long time ago. But I like the idea of him being in a group. Somebody asked me what I would have thought about him joining the Judgment Day and being a heavy for Dom, because Dom for so long now has said we need another member, and Finn said no. But now they have JD McDonough back. Yeah, that was when JD was out with an injury.
Yeah.
Honestly, either one would have worked. And they're very similar in that they're both factions that probably should have died a long time ago, and yet they continue to live on. So either Cobb in the Judgment Day or Cobb in the Bloodline works fine. I think that getting a match with him and Jacob Fatu in the future is going to be awesome. And I think he'll do well. Do I think he's going to go on to be a world champion? No, but I think he's going to be in a good spot, if he's involved with these guys. And then if you get him involved in the U.S. title picture, that's in addition to Knight and Priest and Drew. And we've got Jacob, obviously, and then Solo could challenge Jacob at some point. Mello, if they ever want to push him at a serious level. Got Aleister Black on SmackDown. So you've got a lot of competition, and potential challengers now for that championship, all gunning for Jacob Fatu. So I think it's great. And I thought the match was great.
Yeah, good. I mean, they know they have to do something over on SmackDown with John Cena only having 20 some odd dates left. He's a part-time champion, and their they went from a full-time guy in Cody to a fucking part-time guy, the definition of a part-time guy in John Cena. So they need the United States Championship to step up, and with some main event talent that have at one point in their careers been world champions, Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I mean, that United States Championship is in a good spot, and it needs to be featured more like it definitely has been. If you guys are not aware of Jeff Cobb and what he brings to the table, when you see him wrestle for the first time, I guarantee you will instantly become a fan of Jeff Cobb. So the guy does shit that for a guy his size, you would not think. Wait till you see him wrestle. It's not going to be to the extent of Jacob Fatu, but it's gonna wow a lot of people. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing double jump moonsaults off the top rope, but he's a good wrestler, and he's somebody who, I guess you'd say he's more of like a brawling type.
Yeah.
Somebody who would match up well with a Jacob Fatu, or either as an opponent or a partner, even with like a Bronson Reed. There's a lot of fun stuff that could be done there. Again, I first was exposed to his work when he was doing the Matanza thing in Lucha Underground, but he's been with New Japan now for probably 8 years. Like he was working there for a very long time. And I'm happy for him because he probably realized like it's now or never. He's 42.
Yeah.
He got the offer. This is his first time in WWE. Obviously, he bypassed NXT and went right to the main roster. And he's probably making more money now than he's ever made before, right? Or comparable, with the potential to make even more. And that's probably what influenced his decision, I would imagine. It's like, I either do this now or there may not be another opportunity for me to go to WWE. I've worked in all these other places. He worked a little bit in AEW, but this is a new challenge for him. So I'm happy for him.
And he's not coming in feuding with fucking Alpha Academy or The Miz. He's coming in feuding with Jacob Fatu and being a part of Solo's bloodline, whatever's left. So it's a good spot for him.
Are you putting down Rusev now?
No, I'm not. I love
well,
Rusev.
Look, I'm just saying, last night we kind of got a little bit of a tease that we may soon be getting Rusev and Sheamus, and I'm okay with that.
I like it. I have no problem with that either. I mean, I was the one who pitched them as a tag team, but if they're going to go one-on-one together, it's fine by me too.
Yeah, one-on-one's even better.
So Jacob Fatu retains. I don't know what's coming next. Friday should be interesting. We'll get more answers from Solo and the Jeff Cobb debut on Friday Night SmackDown. The Women's Intercontinental Championship match, Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. Now, I had said for a few weeks now that I was not on board with Becky Lynch's heel turn. I am not afraid to admit I was wrong, but it's still a work in progress. If you're asking me, am I enjoying it to the fullest extent? I am getting there. I described it yesterday. I'm not completely turning the page on it yet. I'm not really embracing the next, few chapters. I'm still kind of licking my finger and about to turn the page. But last night's promo, Jason, really kind of brought me to a point where it's like, all right, Becky's working now. That promo last night was fucking great on Raw that she cut on everybody. And this match on Backlash was probably, I don't want to say probably, it was the best Intercontinental Championship match for the women since we've gotten the championship on television. And this was the best Lyra match that she's had probably ever in WWE. And I thought this was great. I don't know if Lyra's got a broken nose or not. She held her nose pretty significantly towards the end of the match. I hope she's all right. But, I mean, if we're getting a second match and we're getting a continuation of this feud, man, I have no problem with it. I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, in the running for the best match on the show. For me, I can go back and forth with that or the triple or the fatal four-way, but it was an excellent match, and they gave them time. I was surprised by the outcome because I thought Becky was winning that title. And I'm not, surprised in a disappointed way, but I was surprised because I really did think they were going to do a title swap and have her hold it for a while. And they still might, because we have not seen the last of this. They're going to have a rematch. I don't know what her medical status is, but if she's okay, I could see this being a Saturday Night's Main Event rematch. But Becky may yet end up with that Intercontinental title. We'll find out. But this has really benefited Lyra in a way that I think it was the whole point of it. Because those promos over the last few weeks, we have gotten to see a side of her verbally on the microphone that we have not seen since she came to the main roster. She went from being Bird Girl to actually developing something of a personality for herself. And she was taking jabs at Becky. And now in ring, like you said, the best match of her run so far. And she won. And beating somebody like Becky Lynch, who main evented a WrestleMania and has been a women's world champion before, is a nice feather, no pun intended, not a Bird Girl, but a nice feather in her cap. So it's benefited Lyra so far. And as far as the Becky heel turn and the promo on Raw last night, I agree. It was really good stuff. If she does move on to somebody else right now, I don't know who that person is going to be. But I do think her being in this spot is for the better, as opposed to Becky just being a babyface and being kind of the dominant babyface on the show. We have Rhea Ripley. We have IYO SKY. They're already babyfaces. You don't really need another top female babyface right now in that division. So I think her in the heel role is fine. What I just don't want her to lapse back into what she was doing last time. When she was coming out, she was like the female Seth Rollins, and she was coming out in these ridiculous costumes, and I don't know what she was doing. This is more along the lines of what I would have hoped for. So as long as she sticks to this, I'm okay with it. If she starts coming out with these weird artistic, hats and glasses and shit again, that's just not what I'm hoping to see.
No, I agree wholeheartedly there. I think a lot of people were expecting Bayley on Saturday night. I said Bayley in that spot probably doesn't work because they did two things. A, they gave Lyra the win, which I was also surprised by. So it got Lyra a great victory on pay-per-view or PLE. Mm-hmm. And then Becky had the heat right back to her with the post-match attack. They didn't want to send Bayley out there to kind of, take away from those two moments. So we haven't seen Bayley yet. Were you surprised to not see Bayley on Saturday and then again on Monday?
A little bit, not too much on the Backlash show, because I thought they might want to hold off until TV. And I'm not sure when they want to bring Bayley back. That's why I said if they're not going right back to Becky and Lyra, if Lyra has to be out for a little bit, do they put Becky with somebody else, like on a short-term basis, before they bring Bayley back? Because if they wanted to, she would have been back last night. So I'm not sure when they want to bring her back. That's the next obvious feud for Becky. So I was a little surprised that she wasn't on Raw. Not so much Backlash. Because I thought at the end of that promo they were going to hit her music. We were going to hear role model. And she was going to come out.
Role model.
Role model. By the way, this would be a great time to debut new music for her when she comes back. I'm just saying. If anybody's listening, this would be a good time to debut some new music for Bayley.
Becky's promo last night was great. She said, and I want to bring this up because I want to see what this guy says here. She said that Lyra never mattered more than she does now in her entire life, and it's not even close. She said that's all basis of why I'm reading this. She said she felt manipulated afterwards by Lyra and the fans. She said she heard the reactions of the fans last time and saw the online reactions. She said if she's not going after the world title, then she doesn't want to be there. I won, and you couldn't see yourselves in me anymore because you can't recognize success because all you know is failure. And then she goes on to say, she said she didn't have to listen to them tell her who she is and tell her the same lies. She said she didn't have to spin her wheels trying to prove herself. She said if they say she is selfish, yeah, I am. Same with greedy and cutthroat. The crowd then began, giving her the what treatment. But she said the girls in the back who were happy that I was gone felt safe. They will realize what it's like to be held down by the man. Now, this is not the first time we mentioned this, Jason, on this show. I've said it on my own as well. I'm sure you have. The heels in WWE, the heels in Triple H's WWE, they're more cool heels that kind of hide themselves in their truth. But most of the time, their truth is really the truth. It's like, I'm supposed to boo you, but here I am agreeing with you because what you're telling me makes all the sense in the world and you are speaking the truth. Whereas the baby faces, I don't really feel any affiliation to them. I don't feel any desire to adamantly cheer them over the heels. It's like I'm a fan of everybody, like Rollins and Punk. Like I love Punk, I love Rollins, but every time Rollins speaks, it's like, all right, man, you're right. Like you want me to boo you, I'm not going to boo you. Same thing here with Becky Lynch. And I mentioned to my chat last night, Becky cutting this promo sounded much better than if Charlotte cut the same promo. And this is exactly what they should be doing with Charlotte, but Charlotte comes off so disingenuous and so just cringy. Why does it resonate so much better with Becky and not Charlotte when they should really be doing the same thing?
I just think if you're comparing promos and promo styles, I just think Becky, when she gets going, I just think she's better at it and she's more convincing. She's more there's more of an authenticity to it, I guess, than there would be if it was Charlotte doing the same thing. Yeah. Now with Charlotte, they're obviously doing something with her and Alexa Bliss. So I'm wondering where that's going to lead, because Charlotte is somebody who would benefit from just a complete makeover as far as her character is concerned. So I'm wondering if we might possibly get something like that. I don't know. I don't know where that's going or what that's going to look like. I was kind of thinking the other day, you may not know about this, but many years ago in New Japan, you aware of Okada when he was depressed?
Not vividly, but I've heard about some of the stuff. Yeah.
Well, he went through a phase.
Was that where he was carrying a balloon?
He lost the IWGP title, and so without his title, he started carrying a balloon.
Yes. Okay.
Everywhere he would go. And I thought about that the other day, and I said, maybe this is what Charlotte needs. Like, coming out of WrestleMania, she lost to Tiffany Stratton, and she needs, it's almost like an emotional support object that she could carry around with her. So I don't know if it would be a balloon or what it would be. But I mean like a character makeover for this woman, where she loses her mind. She can't believe she lost at WrestleMania, and she has a mental break. And then eventually, she'll rediscover who she is and get the queen back. But don't you think like something like that could work, and the fans might actually get behind her, and it might endear her to the fans a little bit?
Bro, something needs to happen. I don't give a fuck what happens. Something needs to happen.
She walks around with like a stuffed animal or something. I don't give a shit. Like whatever it is, they could probably sell it on WWE Shop. But like she needs something different about her character. Becky, like what we saw in that promo last night, it kind of brought me back a little bit to the Becky of like 2018, 2019, where she wasn't necessarily a babyface, but she had that attitude about her. She had like that chip on her shoulder. And that's what really got her over in the first place. So that's how I would describe it. There's just an authenticity there with her that doesn't exist with Charlotte, where it really does feel very robotic and there's a sameness to it. Whereas here you have Becky saying, you know what, I see all the shit you people are talking about me, Becky Hogan and all this stuff. And you know what, all the things that you think I am and you say I am, that's what I'm going to be from now on. Like, fuck you. Right? That was the gist of the promo last night.
Yeah.
And it worked, you know, and with her delivery, you know, and again, the what chants, she kind of ignored them. Whereas if it was Charlotte in the ring, she would have been rattled, which is another big difference between the two of them. Imagine Charlotte Flair in the ring during that promo when the crowd started to what Becky.
Yeah.
How would she react to it? She couldn't help herself. She would have to stop and then acknowledge it and react to it. And Becky just kept going.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen on Friday. I mean, she cut a promo unexpectedly. I didn't expect her to be on the show. And then they started booing her vehemently. And then she's like, you keep this up, I'm throwing the microphone down, I'm walking out. I'm like, goodbye, there you go. Yeah. And then she ends up walking in the back with Alexa Bliss, and we see them like, Alexa's like, I need to talk to you. We need to talk. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, like I see people in the chat mentioning Toni Storm, and like I don't want her to just copy Toni Storm, but it's a similar type of concept. And honestly, it's been so long with Toni Storm, I don't even remember why she started acting that way. It's been so long. But yeah, I mean, she just has a break. And she starts to doubt herself. And then maybe there's a comedic element to it. But just something like that is, I think, something she would benefit from. They'll never do it. They'll never, ever do it because to them, Charlotte is the top star that they have on that show. In that even though Tiffany has the title, she's still Charlotte Flair. And I don't think that they would ever do something like that. But why not? You know, I mean, if you're trying to find something that might work, or if you want to try to endear her to the crowd, if there's any idea to turn her babyface at some point, they may have to try something like that. And I think it could work. And I think it might soften her image a little bit, where it's like, all right, she's kind of in on the joke and she understands people's perceptions of her and they're going to lean into it a little bit, but in a fun way. I think something like that could work. I don't think they would ever do it.
Well, and I don't know what their plan is now because Alexa is one of the more over females in the entire company. I mean, she's come back and she's gotten some loud pops and she's come back. And now they're going to be pairing her potentially. We don't really know. Well, with yeah. Charlotte. I hope it doesn't have an opposite effect on Alexa. I don't want her to be ruined.
Yeah, and we don't know where it's going to go because they've had issues before where they could unresolved issues in the past from like a couple of years ago. So maybe they're going to feud. Maybe they're not going to be friendly. Maybe it's an actual like feud between the two where this is leading to. I don't know what they're doing with Alexa. I thought it was weird the way they re-debuted her, honestly.
It was like it's very bizarre. It's like everybody's like, oh, the Wyatt Six, she's going to lead the Wyatt Six when we get the Wyatt Six back on television. Here's Zelina Vega, tag team partner.
But just as over as she was when she came back. And then she's like, she disappeared again. And then she finally reappears and it's in like middle of the card tag team match as Zelina Vega's tag team. Like what? Like that was very bizarre.
More over than the United States champion.
A lot more over.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was strange. But yeah, to go back to the Becky stuff. I thought it was well done. I would imagine Bayley will be on her way back soon because I was surprised not to see her last night. And we'll see if we get a rematch between her and Lyra, which I'm sure we almost have to. I mean, even the way that Becky lost that match, it was almost like a fluke. You know, it was a roll up. It wasn't like Nightwing, and then she just pinned her decisively. So I think you get a second match out of it. It's just a matter of do they do it at Saturday night's main event, or do they save it maybe for like Money in the Bank? And maybe that's where Bayley comes back.
Yeah, I think Lyra is getting over. I think Becky is doing a very good job so far. And if Becky's going to be the IC champion, that could be the recipe that title needs. And then Lyra wins it back at SummerSlam. I like it. Speaking of the IC title, men's IC title, Dominic and Penta. This was more of a Raw match on PLE. I don't want to say this was the come down match, but this was definitely placed in the middle of the show, in between everything else that was a lot more hot than this particularly was. Dominic wins here. It took what, Jason? Five guys. Five guys.
It took Dom. It took Carlito. It took McDonough, Balor, and El Grande Americano.
Yeah, good old
to
Americano.
beat Penta in this match. And still, I had people like in my live chat go, "Oh, Penta's buried. He lost to Dom. The bloom is off the rose. He's losing now. He's buried." You know, for a guy who was supposedly buried, I could have sworn I saw him not only win a match last night, but then he came back out again later in the show and took out the Judgment Day.
He did, and he's probably looking at a big-time match at Worlds Collide. I'm assuming that's where they'll do it because it just makes sense to do it there. Or maybe he's in Money in the Bank, and we don't know. I have no idea what they're doing, but I could see him eventually winning the Intercontinental Championship from Dominic Mysterio. This was fine for what it was, and we got the match last night with Gable and Penta. I thought this was better than their first match, and I don't know where you think this is going, Jason, but I said last night I could see we're definitely getting the Lucha Brothers back. It feels like we're just going to get them back together. Penta, Phoenix, and
Worlds Collide.
Yeah, Worlds Collide. And then Vikingo possibly in a 6-man against Balor, Dominic, and Grande Americano. 6-man tag?
Well, if you don't do that at Worlds Collide, when do you do that?
That's a good question.
Or is that the Worlds Collide match?
I think that's the Worlds Collide match. Yeah.
Because I was thinking they would do a Lucha Brothers reunion on the Worlds Collide card and just do Penta and Phoenix against El Grande Americano and maybe Dom.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah, I thought maybe that's the match. So I don't know if Vikingo, I'm sure he'll be on the card. I don't know if he factors into that in any way. But yeah, it feels to me like we're heading for a Lucha Brothers reunion, and if they're looking for a hook, because look, I mean, that Worlds Collide show, it's a joint show. NXT, AAA, WWE. So there'll be talent from all the brands on there. But they're in a building where, they're going to have to sell tickets. It's not a small venue. I don't think that they're in. And so you're going to need some attractions on that show. Rey Mysterio may be there, but he's not wrestling, obviously. He just had surgery. So I don't know what the main event of that show would be, but like a Lucha Brothers reunion, which would be their debut together in WWE, that would be an attraction that they could promote for the show. The first Penta Rey Phoenix team up. Yeah,
I don't know who's going to be on that show. Andrade, Dragon Lee, Santos Escobar, all of Legado, Stephanie Vaquer. Yeah, I don't know what they're planning there, but it should be a great night, a great afternoon. That's at the Intuit Dome. Is it the Intuit Dome? Where's that taking place?
Well, I mean, Money in the Bank is that evening, but they're not in the same building, are they?
Let me look.
Can't be.
I don't know. Worlds
Could
Collide.
They be? I don't know.
Could be the Worlds Collide. Los Angeles. Let's see.
Kia Forum.
That's right. Kia Forum. And then the Intuit Dome is Money in the Bank. Yeah.
And the Kia Forum is like an NBA sized building. It's like 17, 18,000 people. So that's what I mean. Like they're going to have some big matches on that show with named talent if they want to move tickets. It's not going to be enough to just throw the AAA stars on there with some NXT people.
No. So yeah, that's coming up, and then I think that's where it's going as well. Gunther, Pat McAfee. This was the sports entertainment of the evening for sure. I was looking forward to this just simply because I thought this was the best built match going into Backlash. The match itself was very entertaining. The crowd was hot for it. Everybody loves Pat. I thought Gunther played his role very well as the just intimidating, vicious heel. And then obviously Michael Cole getting involved at the end. I thought that was a nice little touch. The only negative here, Jason, I feel is that, we talked about this on last week's show when we did a preview and predictions, 5, 6, 7 minutes maybe. This went nearly 15 minutes. And I know a lot of people were criticizing the fact that Gunther had to sell for Pat McAfee and he should have put him away early and all this other nonsense, blah, blah, blah. Granted, it went a little bit too long than it needed to. But I tried to, I don't want to say convince people, but I mean, Gunther told you exactly what he was going to do. He was going to maim him. He was going to brutalize him on Raw the week prior. Only by the hands of God will he will be able to take the sleeper hold off of Pat McAfee. All these things that he said, Gunther allowed the match to go that long because he wanted to fuck with Pat McAfee. That's the only explanation I could possibly think of as to why it went nearly 15 minutes. But regardless, I thought what they did was great stuff.
I mean, it went almost 15 minutes because they didn't want to, wax Pat that quickly.
And they could have. He's a fucking color commentator.
Yeah, but that's not how they see him. They see him as an attraction and a baby face that people like, and they were going to give him his hope spots. And it was one of the bigger matches they promoted for the show on a show with only 5 matches. So it wasn't going to go 3 minutes. I knew it wasn't going to go that short, but I did not expect it to go 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And for all the talk and all the bluster by Gunther about what he's going to do to Pat and what a massacre this is going to be, when the match was over and he won, but when it was over and he walked out of the ring, in the background, there's Pat McAfee and he's standing on his feet in the ring. And Michael Cole is right next to him. It's not like he was laying in a pool of his own blood, or anything like that, or had to be helped up by officials. So they gave Pat a lot, frankly, more than they probably should have. But, as popular as he is, it got great heat, which I expected that it would. And Gunther played his role perfectly, and Pat did well. He had even the one spot early on where he tripped when he jumped over the top rope into the ring.
Yeah.
And it works. And Michael Cole kind of incorporated it on commentary, like he's overexcited and inexperienced, and that sort of thing is going to happen. So it's like it kind of worked because he's not a wrestler. He's wrestled before, but he's not a wrestler. So, yeah, I mean, the match was very enjoyable. It did not have to be 14 minutes. You could have shaved off 4 or 5 minutes and it would have been fine. It would have been a little bit better even to tighten it up maybe. But it was exactly what it was meant to be. And then it was over. And Gunther went on social media and basically said, done and dusted. And then on Raw last night, the commentators acknowledged that they have more respect for him and they like to think that Gunther now has more respect for them. And so that's it. The issue is over. And it just felt like they needed something for this guy to do. This is what they came up with. It was one and done. There was no tease where Goldberg is concerned, where, Gunther kept him in the sleeper for too long and they can't pull him off. And then we hear the music and nothing happened. And it was just sort of its own little self-contained story. And now Gunther is moving on to something that honestly caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that he would be walking out there last night to announce that he is going to have a rematch this quickly for the World Heavyweight Championship. And not even on a PLE, but they are doing the match on Raw the Monday after Money in the Bank. So that's interesting for a couple of different reasons. I don't know if you have a certain idea that you think this is leading to. There's 2 things as I see it, because we already know Jey Uso, Logan Paul, that's already been confirmed for Saturday night's main event. I don't think Logan Paul is winning the World Heavyweight Championship. So we're going to get a rematch with Jey and Gunther. The last thing I want to see.
No, please don't say it.
The last thing I want to see. Well, no, maybe this isn't what you're thinking of. I don't want to see that either. But the last thing I want to see is Gunther go in there and lose clean again to Jey Uso.
That cannot happen.
It can't, right? It can't happen.
No.
He tapped out to him so quickly at WrestleMania and he lost clean. And I could accept it because that was the story they were telling with Jey Uso. He had to win one, and he did. I don't see the benefit to Gunther in sending him in there just to lose clean again, which means there's going to be something wonky going on here with the finish of this match. I wonder if the reason it's happening on June 9th and not June 7th is because June 7th is Money in the Bank. Are they doing it this way because the winner of Money in the Bank is going to cash in, or tease cashing in, for the world title that Monday?
I didn't think of that aspect. That's certainly
I thought of the other aspect. I thought of the other aspect too, which is probably where it's going. But that made me think, like, of all the shows, it's Money in the Bank. And so I don't know. We don't even know who's in Money in the Bank. We can't even begin to speculate on who's going to win, or if they're a Raw guy or a SmackDown guy. But it did make me think, like, somebody's going to have a briefcase coming out of that show, and there just so happens to be a world championship match that Monday. Does one have to do with the other?
Well, let's go back to what happened with Pat McAfee on Raw. Are you disappointed? Because I'm a little disappointed that we're not following up on Gunther's like vicious side, his like brutal side here, because he gave Pat a sign of respect at Backlash, and then the commentary said what they said. Now there's a mutual respect there, done and dusted. Why aren't we continuing that? I mean, he should still be angry. Now he's put Pat in the rearview mirror, and now he's going after Jey Uso and the World Heavyweight Championship. Why can't we continue both things at the same time? Like, I would love to see Pat still involved with Gunther,
but why? He beat him. Gunther beat him.
How are we going to incorporate Goldberg into all this?
I don't know.
I thought that there would be another Jimmy Uso situation where it's just brutalizing Jay and brutalizing Pat McAfee, and now comes Goldberg. Is the big fucking equalizer.
I thought the connection was going to be Pat McAfee's a former NFL guy.
Me too.
And Goldberg's a former NFL guy. And so one guy's looking out for the other. And yeah, that's what I thought. And then it didn't happen. It just was like confirmed last night that they're done. Like Gunther came out. He never even acknowledged McAfee or Cole at ringside. There was no mention of anything. It was just on to the World Heavyweight Championship. So I assume that means that the issue is over. It's done and dusted, as he said. How you incorporate Goldberg into this, we're assuming the match is Gunther and Goldberg. That's not confirmed. All right, so it could very well be Goldberg and John Cena for all we don't know what that final match is going to be for Goldberg for sure. Maybe they don't even know. But I'm assuming it's going to be Gunther. How they get to that, I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this. Who wins Money in the Bank?
I don't know who's in Money in the Bank.
If you had a choice. Braun Breaker?
Who won Money in the Bank last year on the men's side?
Wasn't it Drew McIntyre?
No. I don't remember. Who won Money in the Bank?
Didn't he win Money in the Bank and then Punk fucked him over, right?
Did he? Okay, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I just completely blanked. I couldn't remember who won. I have to verify this now just to be absolutely sure.
I'm pretty positive it's Drew McIntyre.
Let me see here. Okay, yes, Drew
Yes.
Okay. So Drew McIntyre won. Okay, so that was a heel. Who would benefit the most from winning Money in the Bank? Let's look on the Raw side first. Braun Breaker is part of this new faction, right?
Yep.
Does he need Money in the Bank?
I don't know. Goldberg and Braun Breaker, maybe. I don't know. That's why I said Braun Breaker.
But what does that have to do with Money in the Bank?
Is that his
retirement?
retirement?
What does that have to do?
Or maybe Braun Breaker wins the World Championship. I don't know. Maybe they do Braun Breaker winning the World Championship and do Braun Breaker versus Goldberg for the World Championship.
Why does Goldberg have to wrestle for the World Championship?
Because that's the common theme that we've seen with Goldberg every time he's come back. That's why I'm saying it.
My brain is not thinking of Goldberg in the World Championship at all. I'm actively trying not to think about that, and you're putting the idea out there now, which I think is awful. So let's not do that. And it's two totally separate things. Whoever he's going to wrestle, it should not be for the World Championship. Money in the
realistic
Bank.
names: Punk, Sami Zayn, Logan Paul.
Okay, Logan Paul. Yeah, I could see Logan Paul, but he's getting a world title match in a few weeks, so that would be kind of lame. Braun Breaker is a possibility. CM Punk is a possibility on the Raw side.
On the SmackDown side, I can see Drew McIntyre again.
LA Knight.
LA Knight is a possibility.
Damian Priest.
I mean, all those guys going after the United States title, sure.
I feel like we're missing someone.
Do we get a Bronson Reed returning, or is that too soon?
I think it's too soon. All right. Well, those are some good names. You know what? LA Knight.
Miro.
No, it's not going to be Rusev.
Okay.
LA Knight is a guy right now that has no real direction. He just lost again. He would benefit from that.
I could see that. That doesn't factor into the possible World Championship cash-in on Monday night, though.
No.
You may be right. I just don't know who is going to be the recipient of that briefcase, and go and do that on Monday with Gunther and Jey Uso.
I'm going to take a look at. I want to take a look at these rosters for a second. I need to know what we're dealing with here.
The $1 million question is, how do we get Goldberg incorporated into Gunther and Jey
Oh
Uso?
my God. Fuck Goldberg for a second. Let me take a look at these. Let me take a look at this Raw roster. All right. AJ Styles. Could he be in Money in the Bank? Yes. Is he going to win? Probably not. They're not really doing much with him right now. But he might be. He might qualify, right? He could be in there.
Sidro says Karrion Kross, Money in the Bank.
Karrion Kross, honestly, he probably should get a spot in Money in the Bank. Him winning, though, honestly, do you see him winning Money in the Bank?
Honestly, I want to, just as a,
I'm talking realistically, not like you want to see him win, but do you think he's a realistic option?
I'm going to say what you expect me not to say, and I'm going to say yes. Yes, I do see it.
Okay, well, I don't. So, Braun Breaker, definite possibility. We have Dom. We have Balor. That's not happening.
Why don't we just give Goldberg Money in the Bank?
Why don't we just never talk about that again? Because that's a fucking terrible idea. Boy, you really got the shit takes tonight. Holy crap. What is going on here?
I did that purposely just to see what your reaction would be.
Yeah, right. Looking at the rest of this. Penta, we mentioned Penta. Penta could be in Money in the Bank, but not winning it, though. All right, so that's Raw. Right, it's really, And then Punk. Can't count out Punk, but see, Punk at Money in the Bank, I don't even know that he's in Money in the Bank. I still feel like we're going to get a tag match with him and Roman against Seth and Braun, but now they're doing that other tag match.
Yeah, so why would they even do that? We don't even know where Roman is. Roman may not even show up till the road to SummerSlam, honestly.
He's on the island of relevancy. He's taking a vacation.
He's with his cousin doing Papa Tui.
What about okay, so now the SmackDown side, we have Aleister Black. Could we see him qualify for Money in the Bank?
Aleister Black? I could see it, yeah.
Okay. Carmelo Hayes.
I could see it.
Jacob Fatu is the U.S. champion. Would they have him in Money in the Bank? Probably not. McIntyre winning Money in the Bank 2 years in a row, but then cashing it on Jey Uso.
What would that accomplish? It would get him on Monday. It would get him on Monday Night Raw, which I think he's the perfect guy to be the third man in that group.
Oh, my God, the third man again,
bro. There's gonna be a third man. Okay, there's got to be a third man.
Yeah, but Seth Rollins is gonna want the World Heavyweight Champion. He's not gonna want to partner with the guy who now has the World Heavyweight Championship. And then the SmackDown roster after that, it's like I don't really see any realistic options. So. I don't know, man. The lay of the land there is it's kind of thin with people who I think are going to win Money in the Bank right now. I'm a little undecided here, but how do you get to Goldberg? The answer right now, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to get there, but they're going to get there. I know you've said that you think it'll be a Saudi match. I still think you save his retirement match for SummerSlam and do it there. But I don't know how they get there if it's him and Gunther. I don't know what the story link is or why he would suddenly show up unless he was provoked.
Two things are absolutely not going to happen here. Gunther's not going to lose to Jey Uso clean again because that's fucking just ridiculous to even say. And then two, Gunther's not going to win the world championship because it just doesn't factor into what we've seen on television, and nobody wants to see Gunther versus Goldberg for the world title. That's pretty much where we're at right now. So where do we go? Right. How do we get Goldberg and Gunther, whether it's at Night of Champions or at SummerSlam? How do we get there? I thought Pat McAfee was the bridge to that. Clearly, that's over and done with, so I don't know where we're going.
The only thing I could think of, if we get to a point where Gunther comes out and says he's got no competition and he's looking for someone to step up to the ring general, and then Goldberg emerges, which would be kind of lazy and it's very simple and boring and lame. But like, I don't know. I don't know how else you work him. That's why the McAfee thing, it just felt like there's the connection. But if they're done and it just looks like they're done, I don't know. I don't know how you get there.
Well, maybe it's all a red herring. Maybe it's all a ploy. Maybe he's not really done and something happens in the weeks to come. I have no idea, but
maybe he's not really. Are you talking about Goldberg not really being done?
No, Pat McAfee and Gunther.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jesus, I thought you were like maybe Goldberg is not done. He's going to wrestle another year. I'm like,
is it one match for Goldberg and that's it, or do you think we're getting a second match here?
We get one match.
Okay.
It's one and done.
Goodbye.
I think you ready to kick him out the door?
Goodbye. Yep.
Were you not a Goldberg fan back in the day, in the WCW days?
I didn't mind Goldberg. I thought it was exciting, but
Okay.
I don't really care to see him in 2025, where his son is of age to know what he's doing, and he doesn't need to be a superhero for the children.
Maybe Gage is his retirement opponent.
Listen, it is what it is. Some people have labeled Goldberg and Gunther a dream match. You think it's a dream match? Listen, Gunther doesn't have bad matches, man. I'm going to give Gunther all the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm going to think he's going to lead Goldberg to a decent match.
Gunther
At least a 3-star match.
Gunther and Goldberg, if it was Goldberg in 1998.
Okay.
Yeah. Goldberg in 2025 is not a dream match for anybody.
Hopefully, it doesn't drop Gunther on his head in the fabled
It
jackhammer.
might end up being Gunther's retirement match if he gets him up with the jackhammer. He better be careful.
There you go. Can only do that in Saudi. Did it to The Undertaker. Why not Gunther? Anyway, that's that. We'll see what happens. It's a very murky situation with the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to stick with the World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah, I know you laugh at me, the third man. The promo segment with CM Punk in the open.
One of these days, you're going to get it right. If you say it enough times, eventually there'll be a third man.
It's going to happen. The opening with Punk and Rollins, I thought was very good stuff. I like that Sammy and Jay backed up Punk. We obviously got Heyman, Rollins, and Braun Breaker. There's 3 on the babyface side and 2 on the heel side. So clearly everybody's like sparking discussion. The third man. I know nothing really is confirmed. I think from what we've seen already, if there is theoretically going to be a third man, I know people have mentioned Drew McIntyre. I feel like he's the bridge that connects all these different stories because he's got something to do with everybody. I think he's the right guy, but he's on SmackDown right now. We are getting a draft. We'd have to get him over to Monday Night Raw. Logan Paul is another name people mention. I don't really see that because he's a part-timer and they're going to need a full-time guy, so I think he's out of the equation as well. The other name that people are talking about, Jason, and some people even mentioned it last night. He held the chair. Punk had a chair too, but he was behind CM Punk holding a chair. Now he's teaming with Punk at Saturday Night's Main Event against Rollins and Breaker. Sami Zayn. Do you see Sami turning heel? I don't think that's the right move, and I don't see it happening. But people are thinking that Sami could eventually be the third man to join Rollins and Breaker. What do you think about that?
I don't like it.
Me neither.
I don't like it, and to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because if he was to do that, why wouldn't he have just taken up Paul Heyman on his offer to leave Raw and go to SmackDown?
Yeah.
In the first place.
Yeah.
He said no. He said, no, I'm staying here, go to hell, kiss my ass, whatever it was that he said. To then turn around a few weeks later and link up with them, it's a tough sell for me.
Also, there's a lot of heel turns lately. We don't want to turn another over babyface into a heel. Like, how many heel turns do we have?
Been a lot of heel turns.
Yes.
Everybody's turning heel.
I think McIntyre's the bridge that really kind of brings everybody together. He's got something to do with Punk, Rollins, Sammy, Jey Uso. He just fits. We just got to get him over to Raw. And if that's the case, I think he fits perfectly there. But nothing's confirmed. I know it's a big talking point. Who's the third man? We joke about it. But, Austin Theory's name is out there as well. We'll see. I don't know. I know.
His name is out there?
Yeah.
Did Austin Theory put his name out there? Is that who's putting his name out?
People, listen, man, there's a pocket of social media fans that are big Austin Theory fans.
Did you notice last night? You may not have noticed this because you don't see the segments in between the.
No, I get Real American Beer commercials.
Okay. Well, I use my trusty VPN, and so I saw that there was a segment during one of the commercial breaks where Kathy Kelly was interviewing Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in the on the concourse, and this was earlier in the show, and they were talking about Sheamus, and because remember Waller was going to wrestle Sheamus, and then he gave the match to Theory, who didn't know that he was wrestling Sheamus, and so there was some conflict there. So in this segment, Theory told Waller that he went to Adam Pearce and got him a match with Sheamus. I don't know when, but whatever. Later in the show, right, we had a backstage segment where Sheamus interrupted, I think, Alpha Academy, and he went to go talk to Adam Pearce. And he said that he wanted a match with, I think, was it Grayson Waller, right? He said he wanted a match with Waller.
Well, Tozawa wanted a match with Rusev. He said
right,
no, Pierce said no because he wasn't cleared, and then in comes Sheamus.
Right. So after they left, Sheamus wanted his match, And Pierce acted like this was the first time he had heard of this. And he says, that's a great idea. You got your match. And I'm like, so I thought that we heard earlier in the show that the match was already made. And now the match is being made with Sheamus and Adam Pearce in this backstage segment. It's like one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing. It was very strange. But if you didn't see that segment from earlier, then you wouldn't have noticed that anything was wrong. But they basically announced the match earlier in the show, but then announced it again later. It was very strange.
Well, if a tree falls in the forest and makes a big boom and nobody's there to hear it, did it make a big boom?
Well, now you're getting very philosophical on me, and it's far too late for that. So I'm not.
It didn't air on TV, bro. What do you want me to say?
Well, I mean, it did technically air somewhere. It aired internationally, and the people in the building heard it. I mean, the people in the building may have been sleeping, but the people in the building were there. They had 11,000 people.
Are you not enthused that you're getting Grayson Waller and Sheamus next week?
I'll be more enthused when I get Sheamus and Rusev.
All right.
One-on-one. That's a match that piques my interest.
And we need something for SummerSlam. There you go.
But all these people who are coming up with these theories about Theory being the third man or whatever, he's still hanging out doing off-air segments with Grayson Waller. Like, do you honestly expect that his fortunes are going to change that quickly? Like, anytime soon?
So Jason is saying Theory is a loser, folks.
I mean, this is breaking news. Like, am I wrong here?
No, you're not wrong.
Tell me when I'm telling lies, JD.
No, you're not wrong.
Thank you.
All right, we got one more match to go, and then we'll get to your super chats. John Cena, Randy Orton. Again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but listen. I think everybody came into this thinking that this was going to bomb and that the match build-up was okay, and then the bell would ring. And then we'd get something that was more along the lines of John Cena and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, which thankfully it was not. They went at least 25 minutes plus. There was a lot of smoke and mirrors. I put on social media as soon as the match was over. A lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of interference and nonsense. But in the end, again, Jason, I was sports entertained, and I thought they delivered a match. I mean, if John Cena was walking towards the edge of the cliff, He basically came to the edge of the cliff without falling over, man. They pushed him to the limit as far as he could go, and Randy Orton delivered a very good match with a less than capable John Cena at 48 years old. I thought this was fun. I don't know what else people want me to say about it. I thought this was fun, and it did what it needed to do.
I mean, it was the best possible John Cena Randy Orton match that you could ask for in 2025. You know, for what Cena brings to the table, you know, bell to bell these days. This could have been a very bad situation here. Like when the bell rang, this could have been far worse. And they went out there and it was like they knew this is our last time doing this. They had a long time. This was almost 30 minutes. Like if you would have told me coming into the show, they're going to send John Cena out there with Randy Orton to have a 30-minute match, I would have been terrified. You know, but what they ended up having was about as fun of a match as you could ask for. And yes, there was a lot of finisher spam, and, you know, the kickouts of all the big moves. And Randy Orton didn't just use his move. He used John Cena's move, too. So we saw a gazillion RKOs, and we saw a gazillion attitude adjustments. Like you said, the smoke and mirrors. They did some stuff outside. I think my favorite part was Orton trying to put Cena through the announce desk. And it didn't break. But like 5 seconds later, there was a delayed reaction where the table kind of like half broke. And so Orton goes looking for something, and he didn't find it on one side. So he went to the other side. He pulled a table out, and I said, "Oh shit, he's calling an audible." Because you cannot convince me that was planned. If that table broke the way it was supposed
Orton
to.
was never gonna allow that to be the way that table broke. He's like, I'm getting another table. I'm doing what I intended to do.
This fucking guy is going through a table. I don't care what kind of table, but he's going through a table, and so he put him through the table. Yeah, I mean, look, it was fun for what it was. It could have been really, really boring. I wouldn't say it was a boring match. No. It was slow and methodical to start, and then it got ridiculous with not just the finisher spam, but it got ridiculous with all the ref bumps. There were three or four, I think 3 ref bumps.
Well, that was my next question to you. I mean, Chad Patton, the original referee, got blasted twice in this match, and he got thrown into the steel steps. And I don't know who the referee. It may have been Eddie Arango, the other referee that came in there, and he was the second referee. He got taken out, and then everybody, Nick Aldis and officials and some guys in the back, they all ran to him to see if he was all right. But poor Chad Patton, he got thrown into the steel steps, and nobody paid a fucking a lick of attention to him, man. What happened?
Nobody gave a shit. Well, you know why? Because I think isn't Chad Patton a Raw referee?
He might be, yeah.
I think he might be. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know if if the referees are bound by a particular show. I just was like, maybe he's a Raw ref, and so Nick Aldis just didn't give a shit when he came out. But yeah, of course, he wakes up just in time, to count the winning fall. So it got Looney Tunes there towards the end. But I had talked on my SmackDown review, not Friday, but the week before, about R-Truth and the possibility that he might get involved in this match.
Yeah.
And the idea of him maybe being kind of a useful idiot to John Cena could be very intriguing if they want to, carry that story out for a while. So he gets involved here. I thought we were going to hear Fiend and fucking Travis Scott was going to come out. So I was grateful we didn't have to hear that.
Oh, man.
But Truth gets in the ring, and then he ends up being RKO'd. And then we got the low blow, and we got the belt shot, because this is what Cena does now. This is how he wins his matches. And then when the show was over, did you see what he did to Truth at the post-show scrum?
I did, yeah.
It was weird. Like, the way they did it, maybe it was the lack of reaction in the room, but like the way they did it, it was almost like, I don't know, it was almost like they were pantomiming or something. It was just weird. It didn't have the impact that I think they were going for. But yeah, he put Truth through the table with an attitude adjustment. And the belief now is that that might be the title match for Saturday night's main event, because Cena's already advertised for that show in Miami. And I don't really see the need to do another match with him and Randy Orton, even though he cheated. But like, are we going to get a match that's any better than the one we got on Saturday between those two?
I won't even dare run it back again.
No, there's no reason to run it back. So if he's wrestling, it's going to be against Truth. And I have no issue with them doing that. I think that's not a PLE match. So doing it on Saturday night's main event makes perfect sense to me. But as far as like the final stamp on this John Cena Randy Orton feud, I thought it was good. I mean, I thought it was as good as you could possibly hope for. This is not the John Cena of 10 years ago or 15 years ago. This is what you get now. You're going to get a lot of the same moves over and over again, and you're going to get a lot. We're going to get the finish we got where he's nut-shotting people and hitting them with a belt.
Oh, are you concerned with all the outside interference in his matches? It's like, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And you add in ref bumps and stuff, and it just gets crazy, like an old Jeff Jarrett TNA main event from the early days. And it was silly back then too. So yeah, but look, dude, like if you don't have that, what are you left with? Like they're doing it for a reason. He just doesn't. He's lost some speed off his fastball, I think it's safe to say. And he's not the same performer in ring that he used to be, so you have to rely on these other things. And that's why I think we're seeing what we're seeing.
What did you make of I know you talked about the R-Truth AA at the post-show scrum. What did you make of his facial reactions and contemplating the fan reaction at the end of the show? The trademark logo came up, they ended the show, they went to black, and then they came back and Cena exited the ring, and fans were chanting, "Thank you, Cena, thank you, Cena." And there was this face on Cena where it's like, they really do love me. I really do love them. What'd you make of that?
Planting the seed. I think they're planting the early seed for the eventual redemption arc. And he snapped out of it at the scrum because he attacked R-Truth, but it wasn't even just like acknowledging the fan chants. He was kind of staring down at the belt as if to say, like, what am I doing? Like the way he's winning matches now. Like, what am I doing? This isn't who I am. It's almost like they wanted you to think the real John Cena is just waiting to burst out, but like he's fighting against it. So I think we're going to see something like that again, and then eventually we'll get the old John Cena back, because I think we agree he's not retiring as a heel.
No.
So he's going to have his redemption. The only question is, like, do they do it early enough where there's still a few months left for him to wrestle as a babyface? Or do they wait until the very last match and he loses and then has this eureka moment and he's back to the old John Cena? I feel like you can't wait until the very last match to do that, but maybe they will. I don't know if he's going to be a heel the entire year or not.
I don't know. As long as we get heel Cena and babyface Punk, I don't give a shit when they do it.
Yeah, it has to be that way.
Yeah. I would say Cody breaks him out of that, and Cody wins the title back from Cena, which I think everybody knows.
But
Cena,
I think that's
Cena's
SummerSlam,
fault.
right?
What? Punk and
That Cody wins the belt back?
I don't know. I know we talked about it. I think I don't know when they do Cena Punk. I would say Cena Punk SummerSlam, and then Cody and Cena at that last Saturday Night's Main Event, which apparently his father said that's his last match in Boston, TD Garden.
Well, we don't know if that's Saturday Night's Main Event. He just said it would be in December in Boston at the TD Garden. I don't know if they're going to design. I think what they should do, honestly, it shouldn't be a Saturday Night's Main Event. It should be a special, like streaming special, either on Peacock or Netflix, built entirely around John Cena's last match. And you could build a card around it, but like that's the match, that's the key main event there. And do a whole special around it. Why just do a Saturday Night's Main Event? This is bigger than that.
I know. I agree. I only said that because the last couple of years there hasn't been a pay-per-view in December, so I didn't know. Maybe they just do.
Well, now there can be.
Special. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now there can be. I mean, look. I know last December they did Saturday Night's Main Event, in the middle of the month. So if they're scheduled to do one, you may be right. It may end up being a Saturday night show, but. No, this has to be a PLE special. Yeah, I mean they could just build it entirely around him. It's like what was it? The Last Dance. This is like his last dance, and just build everything around him, man. I mean, it's a big enough event where you can do that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like, and then the question is like, who does he wrestle in his last match? And is he a heel? And is he a babyface? And does Cody wrestle him and win the belt back in his last match? Because I do feel like you may run out of opponents. Like, you got to do Punk. Okay, let's say they do Punk at SummerSlam and Cena wins. What are you doing in September, October, November before you even get to the rematch with Cody? He's got to have other people to work with. So who are those people?
I have not a clue. I know he's already scheduled to be in Perth. He's going to be on. What else is happening? We don't really know what pay-per-view is going to happen in September. Perth, and then we have
or October
Survivor Series.
Well, when is Perth? Perth is October.
Perth is October.
Perth is October.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And
then you have Crown Jewel.
Right, Crown Jewel. Yeah. Survivor Series. We assume it'll be War Games, but we don't know 100%. But that's going to be a stadium show, so they're going to want to build that up. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced that Cena is going all the way to the very end with that title. I think he drops it before then.
And we'll see. I don't know. Either Punk or Cody. I'd say take the title from Cena.
Yeah, I mean, I see people in the chat mentioning like Sheamus and AJ and stuff. Those are all matches I would like to see him have one last time before he calls it quits. And I don't...
Even McIntyre. Cena,
yeah,
McIntyre.
But that makes more sense if Cena's already back to being a babyface then.
Yeah.
If he's already lost the title, he's back to being the old John Cena, then you could do that match. To do heel Cena and heel McIntyre to me just doesn't work. Just doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
But like Cena against Sheamus or AJ, just selfishly, I would like to see it one more time. I don't see the problem with him having the odd TV match here and there.
I'd like to see Gunther too, but like you said, it has to be babyface Cena.
Yeah. I mean... In a different universe, it would have been babyface Cena all along, and it would have been him winning number 17 off of Gunther at SummerSlam. But that's neither here nor there.
I know. Once upon a time that was, but not anymore.
Yep.
Guys, thank you very much for all of your support. We just hit 1,000 likes. Thank you very much. We have 3,000 people in here. We're going to get into your super chats now and say goodnight. So let's first of all throw on some music, and we will get into your super chats. If you guys want to follow us on social media, YouTube, everything you need is linked down below in the description. And super chats will remain open. Get them on in. And we're going to hang out now with Michael Krause. $2 super chat. Good Tuesday, JD, Jason, OTS. Hope all is well. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Hannah with a $4.99. Happy TNT Day. Just want to say I enjoy listening to you both discuss various topics. Very stoked for beach break tomorrow. AEW always keeps me happy, says Anna with a $4.99.
Thank you, Anna.
Apex with a $1.99. If Sammy faces Seth, does Punk face Cody at Mania 42? I do think they do Punk and Cody at WrestleMania. I don't know if it's going to be next year, but I could see that being a Mania match, yes. Mm-hmm. And Seth, if he's the world champion and Sammy wins the Rumble in Saudi, yes, I do see that as the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
Hardcore Kevin with a 2. You guys should do a ghost hunting stream. Jason doesn't believe in the paranormal. I think one time I was with him in the same room and I had Ghost Adventures on. He looked at me sideways like, you watch this shit?
Yeah, I'm not like a big ghost guy.
I like it. I watch it in my my spare time.
Except, well, actually, there is one ghost I believe in.
Who's that?
It's Goldberg.
Goldberg, yes. I could
see him soon. Yeah.
Boss Mo Jackson with a $1.99. Another banger episode with JD and the Monster. And then he says, AEW equals ass entertainment wrestling. Yeah. All right. Jackson, thank you for letting us know how you feel, brother. Ali with a 5. I asked the gym instructor if he could teach me to do the splits. He replied, how flexible are you? I said, I can't make it on Tuesdays. Nah.
At least I got that one. Some of them I don't get. This one I got.
Yeah. Thank you, Ali. Thank you for the try there, bro. I appreciate you. Michelle with a 10. Roman is rumored to be back next month. What do you see him doing? And what is Cody doing if not going after Cena yet? When do you see Heyman and Punk getting back together? What about Dom and Seth? Lot of questions there.
Yeah.
What do we see? Let's start with Roman. What do we see Roman doing?
I still think Money in the Bank. He's backed by Money in the Bank, and I think you
do him and Seth one-on-one.
Some people think you save that for a WrestleMania match, though.
True.
I think you do Roman and Seth. I agree.
You may be right. We may do Cody Cena at SummerSlam, and we may do Punk and Roman at SummerSlam. Possibly.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't know. Interesting. Michelle also says, what is Cody doing if not going after Cena yet? I don't know. We're going to see Cody back soon. I just don't know when.
Doing what, though? That's the question. It doesn't make sense for him to do anything but want to go back after Cena.
Yeah. When do we see Heyman and Punk get back together?
Never.
I don't think they do.
Never.
And Dom and Seth? No. I don't know what's going on with Balor and Roxanne. There's been some segments backstage on Raw with Balor and Roxanne. I don't know if Balor is planning something behind the Judgment Day's back. You know, Triple H usually does that when he's got something brewing, but we don't know. Boss Mo Jackson with a $4.99. JD and Solo, the dust has settled a bit and Money in the Bank is upon us. So what are your predictions for the men's and women's Money in the Bank matches? We talked about that earlier for the men's. There's a lot of good names, but the women, we don't even know who's going to be on the active roster. Roxanne is there. I can see Roxanne winning it. If Rhea hasn't gotten a championship match yet, I can see Rhea winning it. That would cause a shitstorm on social media because everybody thinks she's already too much in the title picture. On SmackDown, I don't know. Charlotte, Alexa, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, maybe Alexa Bliss.
Yep. Some names there as well. Hollywood Guy with a 5. JD, what are your top 3 best Sabu rivalries or matches? Mine are Sabu Mike Awesome, Sabu Rhino, and Sabu RVD. Well, I mentioned Jerry Lynn and RVD. Those are the top 2. I mean, if I had to choose, how many matches did Sabu and Sandman have? 2 or 3 matches? There wasn't a lot.
No, not a lot. And then Sabu and Taz as well.
Yep. Mr. Rube Dog with a $4.99. Ruby Dog. Javon Evans calling TK a crackhead is fighting words for Solid Monster. Don't disrespect Jason's idol. Well, Jason made a good point though about Javon Evans calling Tony Khan a crackhead. If he gets fired, is he going to ask that crackhead for a job?
You should have seen some of the comments I got from people who thought I was defending Tony Khan and AEW to my dying breath. Like, of course, you're just an AEW dick rider. Why are you defending Tony so much? That's all you ever do. I'm like, really? Like, talking to me? Like, they couldn't wrap their head around the idea that, you know, maybe this young 20-year-old kid who is very talented and clearly WWE sees big things in his future. I mean, there's a reason why he was working a match with Randy Orton, but he's still very young and he is prone to saying stupid shit like any young person would be. And frankly, you just don't know where life is going to take you. And it's not impossible to conceive that one day he may be on the receiving end of one of those releases that those other 17 people were the other week. And if that were to happen, and he found himself on the outside, maybe he would be looking for a job in that other place. And it might not be the smartest thing to call the president of that company a crackhead. I mean, they couldn't wrap their heads around what I was trying to communicate.
Well, didn't people find it to be ridiculous that he compared working in front of 2,000 people to Ricochet?
Well, I mentioned that too.
And then the Performance Center. How many people that place held? 400?
No.
Not even.
Well, no. They completely glossed over that fact because, again, we're talking about tribalists here, so that's where most of these comments were coming from. But I pointed that out too. I said, you know, it just rubbed me the wrong way that of all the things to kind of throw back at Ricochet, it's like, well, good luck performing in front of 2,000 people, as if this man doesn't wrestle in front of crowds of 300 at the Performance Center every single week. And you're criticizing someone for wrestling in front of 2,000 people. Like, that to me was like, that was even dumber for him to say.
So that all these tribalists wanted to beat your car, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And actually, there were a couple people who were like, well, there's a double standard here because you're calling out Javon Evans, but you don't call out any of these AEW people like Will Ospreay, which I did during my Dynamite review. I actually talked about the comments that Ospreay made last week.
Yeah.
When he was talking about WWE, and he made the comment about how there's nobody, like, basically there's nobody on their roster who's, I don't know, better than him or better than, at the same level as him or like the best that AEW has to offer. Then I pointed out how ridiculous that was when you have people like a Seth Rollins, for example, you know, on the WWE roster, and I named a bunch of other people.
Or Gunther and AJ Styles or whoever else is there.
But I guess, you know, people have selective memory, or, you know, they go off of one clip instead of watching the body of what you do, which I'm sure you go through all the time. So, yeah, I just laughed when I saw those comments because they were big mad. Like, you should have seen some of these comments. They were big mad that I dared criticize Javon Evans and not, you know, lump Ricochet into the same category.
I got to go look at the comment section after the show's over. I need a laugh. So,
well, so yeah, some of them are there, some of them are gone, but yeah, I had a nice laugh.
Duff's Vids with a 199. What's the leading cause of dry skin? Towels. Yes. Thank you, Duffs. Boss Mo Jackson, the 499. Benjamin Shelton works for EAW and a faithful member of the syndicate of Hurt, formerly of the Business Hurt. His greatest match is with Michael Shawn. Yes, thank you. I think we can move past Shelton Benjamin or Benjamin Shelton, Boss Mo Jackson. Yeah, Hogan had a comment. We didn't even go over it. I didn't feel like it was even worth it. He said something on Ariel Helwani show.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it was the same delusional excuse that he used after the Raw on Netflix debut, where, as we all know, the only reason that Hogan was booed in LA, brother, is because it was the first time that he had ever been back in LA since he was running hard with the NWO Jack. And so back in the day, he got booed because he was Hollywood Hogan. But dude. Now he came back, brother Jack, dude. And so now he came back, ignoring the fact that, of course, he's been to LA several times in the intervening, 30 years? Not to mention he was at a fucking WrestleMania in LA in 2005, and he came out to a monster reaction. So, yeah, basically the same Hogan stuff. Did you see Hogan in that interview, though? Like, his camera was, like, super close, and I don't know. He looked
Did he
like
just get back from the fucking the tanning salon?
Not even that. Like he just looked like, I don't know, like a fucking raisin or something. Like it was just weird. Like under the eyes and stuff. Like, ugh.
Did you see that they're talking to 2 different streaming platforms for, or what is it, Freestyle American Wrestling?
Real American Freestyle Wrestling.
Yeah,
they said it's not a matter of if. Bischoff said it's not a matter of if we're going to find our way onto a station or a platform. It's like we'll have to decide which one. So yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll end up on the Pursuit channel.
Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe following Raph would be bear hunting. I don't know. We'll see.
It'll be crawfish hunting or something. Yeah, that'll be quite the lead-in.
Dubs Vids with a $4.99. I got an email saying at Google Earth we can read maps backwards. I thought that's just spam. All right,
we get it because maps backwards.
Yes.
Spell spam.
Yes. We didn't get a laugh out of those guys, so we got to try hard, Duffs. Duffs with a $1.99. What kind of key opens a banana? A monkey. A monkey. There you go. You got him. Doesn't take much. Boss Bo Jackson with a $1.99. Who is WWE's version of the Invisible Man? John Cena. No. No, Boss Mo Jackson. No, thank you.
No.
Boss Mo Jackson also with a $1.99. 50 Terminators versus 1 Thanos. Who you got? I'm going Thanos.
Yeah, gotta go Thanos.
Yeah. Duff's Vids, $4.99. Did you hear about the rumor about bread and butter? No? Well, I'm not going to spread it.
So bad.
Duff's Vids with a $4.99. Did you know hands can only grow up to 11 inches? If it gets to 12 inches, then it be a foot.
I don't even know.
I don't know, man. Hit Sidro, you better come in hot here, man. Duff's is struggling out here. Corey Williams with 33 months. Thank you, Corey. Rest in peace, Sabu. Should have never been in a pro wrestling match in the first place. You share the same sentiment with a lot of people, bro. Thank you. Duff's Viz with a $4.99. I went to the zoo yesterday and only saw a dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
Is that the joke?
That's the joke, yes. It was a Shih Tzu.
That's a real dog, though. That's.
I guess, yeah.
Where's the joke?
I went to the zoo yesterday and only saw a dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
Okay. Am I missing something here?
I don't know. Duff's what's going on, man.
You're talking like you knew the punchline.
No, I'm just reiterating it. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it by reading it out loud.
Okay.
Duff's Viz with a $4.99. Amazon sucks. I went on there to get a lighter, and all I got was 13,749 matches. I don't know why I found that one funny. I don't know.
Okay. So everybody, okay, you can stop. I see all the responses. It's a shit zoo.
I read it wrong. Blame me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the way he read it, like, it didn't make any sense.
Shih Tzu.
It's a shit zoo.
I'm sorry, Duffs. I fucked up your punchline, man.
Blame him. Don't blame me.
Duff's Vids with a $9.99. How does The Rock pee? He Dwayne's his Johnson.
Terrible. Terrible.
Oh, my God. I yaps a lot with a $4.99. Cheers, gentlemen. What are your favorite wrestling eras? And do you feel like the Attitude Era has been getting a lot of hate lately? My favorite era is probably the Attitude Era.
I haven't heard anybody talking about the Attitude Era. For me, it's the Golden Era. It's the era that I grew up on.
All right.
That's still the best wrestling.
Yes, Manny, I see it. Yes, Shih Tzu equals shit zoo. Yes, thank you. I know it now. Timmy No Turner with a 499. Just watched you read my super chat from last night. You saying AEW is worse does nothing for me. I don't want the product. I watch WWE, and he's mid. I don't know what super chat was from last night. Who's mid?
I don't know.
I don't know who's mid.
It's a mystery.
Basic with the 26 months. WWE is consolidating. By creating relationships with other promotions, it'll be easier for them to acquire and reacquire talent. The end all be all. Yep.
I think that's the eventual goal.
Yep.
There's no reason to buy them all up now.
Nope.
Like TNA, they wanted to, they could, but why? They have a great situation with them right now where they can partner with them and trade talent back and forth more. I mean, it's not completely one-sided, but it's kind of mostly one-sided. But then have a pipeline to talent they want when their contracts come due. It's the perfect scenario, and they don't have to buy them, spend money on them, spend money on overhead. It's perfect.
Chad is saying MJF is mid. No, he's not. I don't know what you guys are on, but no. Ryan Matthew Russo with a 5. Now watch WWE absolutely butcher Hendry's theme a la Def Rebel.
Oh, yeah, he's going to get Def Rebelled. So what'll the opening soundbite be to his song?
That's a good question.
I believe.
Oh, my God. I believe.
I believe.
Oh, my God. Bossmo Jackson with the 199. What is Jeff Cobb's favorite veggie? Corn on the cob. Bro, come on. Quit. Just quit while you're at, bro. Really.
This is getting worse.
Devil Jinx with a 1 month. Rest in peace, Sabu. Never got into ECW in its heyday, but when WWE bought it, Sabu was one I got into alongside Sandman, who I kind of wanted to tag with Austin. Yeah, those are those are the guys that got me into the rabbit hole known as ECW for sure. Ali with a 2. JD, do you see Demon Finn versus Dominic happening soon? I could see Demon Finn returning, yes. I think it's something that he actually wants to kind of get back to and do it right. Or maybe just do it one more time and just put the ending chapter the way he wants on it. Robbie with a 499. What's up, Solo and JD? Hope you're having a great day. Who do you think will win the men and women's Money in the Bank matches? I got Naomi and LA Knight or Mello. Naomi's a good choice. I like Naomi as the choice. We didn't say Naomi.
Yeah, Naomi would be good.
Yeah. Jake with a 2. Cross for third man. I think the fans will love it. He's got to fit, bro. I mean, does he fit into the third man vibe? I don't know.
He doesn't fit he doesn't fit in that group.
No.
I could have seen him in the Judgment Day, but not in this Heyman crew.
No. MGM balling with a 499. I don't usually care about these things, so bear with me. I'm very sorry, JD, but Miles Bourne is dating Vaquer. Stay strong, brother. Really. Might be the luckiest guy on earth.
First I'm hearing of that, but
Me
hey,
too.
I mean, good for him. If that's the case.
He's got the game. There you go.
He just won a battle royal last week too, right? To become #1 contender.
Yeah,
so he's
fighting Obafemi at Battleground.
Yeah, well, I mean, rest in peace. But I mean, for the time being, it looks like he's got everything going his way.
He may be a loser at Battleground, but he is always a winner.
He's a winner in life.
Yes. Cake with the 40 months. Evolution 2 will only get 2 weeks of build due to being after Night of Champions, and it will only get 5 matches. They also fired half their mid-card. No, they didn't. 5 matches? I mean, look at the roster of talent that they have on that women's division. I think it'll be fine. 5 matches, you may be right, though. I think that would be an injustice, but we'll see. Scott Woodford with 26 months. Hendry versus Cena this year. I'm calling this now. So is Joe Hendry.
So is Joe Hendry. He's trying to will it into existence.
Jake with a 2. Best Hogan is Pat McAfee explaining Yankees Game 4. I don't know what that means.
I didn't see the entire Hogan interview because I just wouldn't subject myself to that. But so what? Pat was explaining the Yankee game to Hulk Hogan. Is that what he's saying?
Must have been. I don't know. Pat McAfee explaining Yankee Game 4 to Hulk Hogan.
Did Hogan then explain to McAfee how he tried out for the Yankees once? He was going to play shortstop, but he suffered a knee injury. And
maybe he could have been as great as Shohei Ohtani.
He could have been, yeah. I mean, but you know, damn knee injury. He just, he had to bow out. That's how he got into wrestling.
There you go. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
JJ with a 2. Hendry versus Cena Saturday night's main event. Is Hendry a big enough name for a spot like that with Cena? I don't think so.
No. On NBC? No.
Duff's Viz with a $4.99. Not doing house shows is going to end up cutting more people off the roster for the ones they're not using. Well, he made sense. Yeah. When he's not telling jokes, he's making sense. Look at that. Jake with a 5. My first house show was in 1997 with Razor Ramon and had the foam finger. What my mom could afford. I'm an adult with a good paycheck now. I'm out. Yeah, we thought those foam fingers were expensive. How much is a foam finger now? $50?
If you get it from WWEshop.com with shipping, yeah, it probably is. And it'll come ripped, too.
Yeah.
On top of that.
Yeah.
I had the foam finger. Remember the belts used to be
I had them, yeah.
Foam. Yeah, the foam belts. That looked, actually, the world title looked nothing. It wasn't the winged eagle design. It just looked nothing like it. But I still have mine somewhere.
Nima P. Azar with a 5. Randy Orton's most memorable match was probably him versus Mick Foley at Backlash 2004. That was a good one. Mm-hmm. It was a very good
really
one.
The match that really put him on the map in many ways.
Yeah.
It's very instrumental to his career.
Boss Mo Jackson with a 5. NXT needs a draft with other companies because their roster mostly are these kids who sound like they recite lines and wrestle like rookies. They aren't catching on. Well, Trick Williams is battling for the TNA championship, so I mean, I guess we're seeing the start of that. Duff's Vids with a $9.99. What's the last thing you see when your parachute fails? Ground coming too.
What? Did you misread that again?
It's ground coming, Cumin, unless it's ground coming or ground cumin. Ground coming too.
It probably is like ground cumin, but it's like a play. It's like a play on words. I was gonna say my life. Flashes before your eyes.
I wouldn't be up there to begin with, so.
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't put myself in that position.
Why don't blind people go skydiving? It scares the shit out of their dog.
Seeing eye dog.
Yeah. There you go.
Not that funny, but I get it.
Thank you for TNT, says Duff's Vids.
Thank you, Duff.
Thank you, Duff. Eric Aviles with 30 months. Thank you to you guys for what you do. Please give a shout out to my brother JC. Hopefully Dynamite is good tomorrow. What's up, JC? Thank you for watching, brother. Jake with a 2. Hashtag cross third man. Keep dreaming, bro. Sarit Mohanty. Thoughts on Ricochet and Javon Evans' Twitter war? Jason talked about it on YouTube and on the Sound Off. Go listen to his clip on YouTube. Who is right and who is wrong? They're both wrong. Ricochet's a troll. He's just going to elicit a reaction out of people. That's what he does. Apparently, he's in character.
He baited Javon, and Javon took the bait.
Yeah. He also says, don't think that Braun should beat Jay for the world title instead of Rollins. Rollins' first title reign was boring. I think Rollins has really grown into whatever role he's in now. I wouldn't mind seeing another world championship run from him. Sidro with 32 months. If my name was David and I had a boy, I would have to name him Harley. That way he could introduce himself. I'm Harley, David's son. Oh, man. Sidra. Sarit Mohanty with a super chat. Out of Mercedes and Charlotte, who is more selfish currently and thinks only about herself rather than putting over young talents? Not to forget Charlotte lost to Tiffany while Mercedes is yet to lose. Bro, everybody's selfish in their own way. Everybody. Everybody's selfish at one point or another. Duff's Vids with a $4.99. What engine is in a car owned by a tomato? It's
a V8 joke.
It's a V8.
It's a V8 joke.
For all the tomato throwers, LOL.
See it coming.
Thank you, Duffs. All right, back on track as Duffs wins. Sidro with a 5. Hits blunt. He puts in parentheses. If two blind people have sex and have a baby, who's going to watch it? That's the joke.
I see.
And what you call 10 rabbits walking backwards? A receding hairline. All Elite Adam with a 199. This one's for Solo. Fiend.
Thank you for that. Yes, I missed it so much. I'm so glad now. I had some fiend in my life.
Wolf Dragon Monster Den with a 2. Would Cross fit as the third man? No. Now Cross would not fit as the third man.
What is the obsession with Cross as the third man?
I don't know. Sidro with a 5. Someone posted they just baked some cinnamon.
You can't even say it.
Synonym buns. I replied, you mean just like the ones... I replied, you mean just like the ones... I can't say it. The ones...
I can't see it. So unless you say it, I don't know what you're talking about.
Synonym buttons. I replied, you mean just like the ones Grammar used to make? Oh my God.
Who said that one in?
Sidro. Just like the ones Grammar used to make. Now I'm blocked. Oh my God, man. Sidro also want to $5 super chat. My family no longer has any income after my father got fired from the shoe factory, the bakery, and the sausage shop. He was the soul. He was the soul bread wiener.
Where does he get these?
Oh my goodness. Sidra, all right, man. You're in the lead tonight for sure. Jake with a $2 super chat. Becky loves Lyra. She's back to get her over. Yes. Thank you, Jake. Sidro with a $2 super chat. What do you call a thespian rabbit? Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, good Lord.
Jake with a 2. Cross. It's whoever is this third member. You guys are fucking on this third membership. Holy shit, man.
You started it. You're the one who's been talking about the third man, third member.
Jake with a 2. Team Cross. Fuck these guys. Robbie with a $4.99. Watch Goldberg pull a Brock Lesnar, and when LA Knight is about to win, Goldberg comes out and wins, then cashes in and saves wrestling from Cena. Well, you're really fucking channeling some Vince McMahon spirits there. Holy shit. Jake, I'm done after this. Cross is a fan favorite. Reading chat. Fucking do it. Cross is the pick with a 5. Thank you, Jake. Sidro with a 5. While Roman is Roman on his island, is there ever a dark cloud over him to rain on his reign? Hashtag high thoughts. Hashtag I love you guys. Hashtag Lorraine and Claire Lee.
You must have been very high tonight.
Mark of Cain with a 10. Here's how it should go down. Rock takes over creative, books one final match for both Goldberg and Triple H. Nice safe opponent for Triple H with special guest commentary team Bret Hart and Kevin Nash. WW2K25 is calling you, bro.
Passing around the good stuff tonight, apparently.
Boss Mo Jackson with a 199. Money in the Bank is tough predictions this year. It's intriguing. Yes, good. I like it that way. Blue Jay with a 199. I don't like the technically I'm right heels. I don't really care. I mean, we're old enough to know that, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, I don't have an issue with them. I have an issue with having too many of them.
Eminem, $10 super chat. Hey, everybody. Thank you for a beautiful party. You invited all my friends. Hey, everybody, let's eat cake. I have an announcement to make. I fed up with this world. You're just a chicken. Okay? You're fed up? You're just a chicken? Hollywood guy with a 2. Andrade, Ludwig, and Cody in Money in the Bank. Yes or no? Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on with Ludwig. Cody winning Money in the Bank? Maybe. Listen. It's a possibility.
Well, I mean, if the talk is about him being back on TV soon, for him to be in a qualifying match, that would make sense.
Yeah. Citro with a 2. Men's Money in the Bank. Punk, Cross, Cody, Drew, Seth, or Rusev. Jake with a 5 and a 5. Think they should have done him turning on Truth early. Childhood hero. He's turning back to face. Cody will be bad. Not saying I like it. No, Cody's not going heel. Way too soon. I think John Cena goes face. Heel Cody wins. Randy takes it back as the other OG. No. Dwayne wants Cody as a heel right now. But no. Johnny Bishop with a 2. What if Cody wins Money in the Bank? Possibility, Johnny. Zachary Cologne with a $9.99. Hey, JD, you mentioned paranormal stuff. My uncle was actually a producer on Celebrity Ghost Stories. Great stream. OTS for life. One of my favorite shows is Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans.
Very cool.
Love it. That's actually pretty fucking cool. Furious Nation with a $4.99. What's up, JD and Solo? With the draft rumored. I remember WWE doing the draft lottery in 05 for weeks, kind of similar to the transfer window. Thoughts? The draft lottery. How did that go again?
What year did he
05?
say it was? Oh my God.
I don't remember.
20 years ago, dude.
Yeah. I don't remember.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember how they structured it. That was like the early days too of the draft, where the draft actually meant something.
Yeah. M. James with a 5. With Ludwig doing nothing right now, it's still insane how they broke Imperium up. Tag division could use them. Listen, man, they wanted to get rid of Vinci. I don't know why, but Ludwig's not doing much of anything nowadays. $2 Super Chat. Catch up with WWE LFG. Very solid stuff lately. Yeah, you know who just followed me from LFG? Danny Palmer just followed me. She's one of my favorites on the show. The cheerleader.
Oh, no, Danny Palmer.
No, not Danny Palmer. Not there's another Danny on the show. I forgot her name. Her name is ridiculous to pronounce, but she's the cheerleader on the show. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Manny Angel with a 5. JD, did you get my Austin Powers clips that I sent you on Twitter? Yes, I did, Manny. Thank you. Blue Jay with a 2. Friendly reminder. Role model. Thank you, Blue Jay. Casa D18 Studios with a 5. Why will Ricochet defeat Zach Gowen tomorrow night? Because he has a leg up on the competition.
Yes, very true.
Yes, he does.
That's very true.
Jake with a 2. Why was Ty Schmidt playing Hogan? It was a joke. Oh, okay. So it wasn't really Hogan. Okay. It was the imposter Hogan on Pat McAfee's show.
Ah, okay.
Alex with a 5. If it was up to JD, Goldberg would be winning the 2026 Royal Rumble and headline Mania to win the WWE title and break Roman's 3.5 year reign. Alex, no, we're not going down that far, man. Come on now. Nightmares Adventures with a 5. I don't always tell dad jokes, but when I do, he usually laughs. We got a $1.99 from Stephanie Vaquer Simp. Ricochet.
There's a lot of those going around, especially in this chat.
Ricochet is a... Oh, my goodness. Ricochet is a master... He's a masturbator. Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
That's factual information. Stephanie
Yes,
Vaquer Sim. Thank you, bro. Dove's Viz with a $4.99. What did Travis Scott say while his mom was feeding him as a toddler? Oh my God. Fiend me. Fiend me. Boss Mo Jackson with a $1.99. Watching you guys laugh at these jokes is funny. Some of them are very funny. Zachary Cologne with a $4.99. What did one tomato say to the other tomatoes during the race? Catch up.
Naturally, of course. What else would he say?
Boss Mo Jackson with a $1.99. In your goon voice, say role model. Do I have a goon voice on here? Did I get rid of it?
Role model.
Base Beers with a 2. Dream matches you want to see today. Rollins versus Ospreay, he lists. Ospreay versus anybody, really. Ospreay, Gunther.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have too many dream matches, but I mean, if I could wave the magic wand, yeah, I mean, you put Ospreay in there with almost anybody on the other side that he's never faced before that has any kind of name. You know it's going to be great. I would go on the WWE side. I would probably go. Man, who would I pick from the WWE side?
I'd probably go
Gunther.
Gunther. Yeah, Gunther.
Yeah, Gunther, and then you know what? Gunther and Ospreay.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's my match. Or
Yeah.
Gunther and Omega.
Yeah, either one, but
Yeah.
Gunther and Ospreay would be mine.
Yeah. And Sidro, we'll end with this one. $2 super chat. What did Sushi A say to Sushi B? Wasabi!
Oh my god.
Oh my God. Vegas Beers for the 2. Is Jericho top 20 GOAT?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes. And Tactical Dish Soap with a 5. If a deaf person goes to court, is it still a hearing? Oh my God, Alex with the 5. If War Games returns this year, can you guys see a team run by Cena? Cena in War Games? Nah, they're gonna have to sell me on that one, bro.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to be in it.
No.
I mean, if he's still the champion, then
Yeah.
he's not going to be in it. If he's back to being a babyface at that point, could I see him on like the babyface squad? I could, and it would be a way to get him in his one and only War Games match. I can't rule it out, but we don't even know if he's still going to have the title at that point.
Yeah. And that is all we got. Thank you guys very much, man. Appreciate it.
And we got Jake.
Jake with a 5. Look at that. Cena, after the last match, showed face. Cody will go heel. It's obvious. I want to see Punk, but I know the end. I want Gunther at the finish. Cody's not going heel, bro. If Cody goes heel, I'd be shocked. We just talked about too many heel turns. Cody's not going heel. Thank you guys for a great stream, man. Thank you for the laughs, as always. Thank you for all the support. We had 3,000 in here. We have 1,100 likes, and I'm going to leave it with this guy to sound us off for episode 95, man. Next week is episode 96. We are 4 episodes away from 100 episodes.
Yeah, we're getting closer. We just had the my 1-year anniversary here on TNT.
Yep.
And we are getting very, very close to episode 100. So we're counting. John Cena is counting down all of his appearances that he's got left. So we're counting down the weeks until episode 100.
Yep.
And yeah, just one last word on Sabu, since that was really the big story of the last few days. Very sad. We talked about him earlier, but a pioneer and an innovator in an industry where it can be very tough to innovate. And somebody who, whether you were a fan of his work or not, left his mark not only on his own body, but left his mark on the wrestling business, and will be missed by many people. So rest in peace, Sabu.
Indeed. Thank you, everybody, for a great stream. Appreciate you all. Next week, we'll be back, same time, same channel. As always, right here on Tuesday night, episode 96. Thank you guys for a great stream. We'll see you next week right here on TNT.